It's one of the world's most livable cities. So much always on offer, no matter what you like to do. And if you're into motorsports, it's certainly the place to be. 2 weeks ago in Alabama, the high temperatures caused high drama. And that just shows you the torture that these drivers are being put through. Frustration was the emotion that blanketed the Gainsco team, but they weren't the only ones. Darren Law is giving it everything he's got, but it's not enough. It will be the 6th win in 2008 for the Telmex Ganassi Riley. In the GT category, once again, it was jubilation for the Speed Source Mazda boys. Nick Ham and Sylvain Tremblay, back-to-back winners. The series now swings north to Canada and the legendary Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal.
Car's out of control.
There they're going, they're bumping at it.
Oz is not afraid to mix it up, and they do mix it up. That's what Grand-Am Racing's about. Yes, what an honour it is to race at this famed venue, steeped in stories, resplendent in natural surrounds, and an amazing test to the drivers. This is the Grand-Am Montreal 200, round 10 of the Rolex Sports Car Series. Hi folks, Lee Diffie along with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader. A pleasure to be back in Montreal. Cal, I'll get with you in just a moment. Dorse, first up, there's still so much racing to come in this season. However, we're entering the home stretch and very busy at that, 4 in 5 weeks.
Well, in Daytona Prototype, let me tell you, it's all about Team Ganassi. They opened up the beginner at the 24-hour Daytona with a win. Since that point in time, Scott Pruitt, Memo Rojas have been just unstoppable. They've won 6 of 9 races, and I'll be honest with you, with only 5 left to go, well, probably their lead is insurmountable.
That's the Ganassi side of the story. How about everybody else? Is it time now to stand up and deliver?
Well, it is for some teams. I think the 10 SunTrust team for sure. Now, look back to Montreal a year ago. It was the first time these cars came here, and it was the 10 car, the SunTrust team that won. It was Magnussen, Angelelli. But who would believe that all the trouble they had this year, I mean, they had all kind of fires in the transporter wrecks. They have not won a race since this race last year.
Not won a race at all. That's appropriate to say about one of the teams, the Canadian team in the Grand-Am Rolex Sports Car Series. And Brian Till, I'm sure, I know, the AIM Autosport team would love to notch up victory number 1 here today.
Well, Lee, you know, the AIM Autosport team has been strong all season long, especially in the last 2 rounds. They led in the July Daytona round until a cut-down tire caused a spin on the banking and dropped them from contention. And then at the last round at Barber Motorsports Park, the 61 took the lead, held it for just over half an hour, but with only 12 laps to go in the race, they had a mechanical problem and they dropped out of the race. Heartbreak for that team yet once again. You know, Brian Frisselle and Mark Wilkins have done such a great job all season long in that car, but Mark, you haven't gotten that victory yet. You come back to Canada, and I know as a Canadian team, as a Canadian driver, how special would be taking that first victory of the season and taking it here on your home turf.
Unbelievably so. I mean, as you mentioned, we've just been so close. We've been knocking on the door. This team has worked so hard, and we feel like, you know, we've done the work, and we just need the result, and we're gonna really push today. We're down in the points, so we're going for the win. That's our ultimate goal. Brian's doing a great job this weekend again, and we're gonna take it to these guys today.
And they have been so close. They're looking for their first victory of 2008, their first victory in all, but they're not the only team out here looking for a win this season. Chris?
Brian, one of the most famous names in sports car racing is Brumos Porsche. Their last win came here in Quebec at Montreal in 2003. It was a 1-2 finish for the team. The drought has been long, but that may well change, and change soon. At Barber, they were poised for their first victory in 5 years. Darren Law goes for the late race pass, but being hip-checked by Scott Pruitt is held to second place. Darren, it's been 2 weeks since Barber. Did you give it too easy to Scott Pruitt?
You know what, that was not just a racing incident, but when it happened, it was right after a restart. I had the entire field behind me. I think if I'd fought it any harder, we probably wouldn't have made it to the podium. The only thing I can say is those guys are fighting for a championship. We're not. We have nothing to lose now, so we're going for it.
Well, if Brumos can get back to their winning ways, this would be their first win with Darren Law on the team.
Look at the intensity on Darren Law's face, and intense is something you could use to describe the GT Championship, Cal. In Grand-Am Rolex Series competition, there's always 2 sides to the story, Daytona prototypes and GT, and it's the closest we've seen in some time since perhaps mid-May. Laguna Seca, just 14 points separating first and second in the GT chase. This is close.
It really is. The 07 team is certainly feeling the heat right now. They can hear those footsteps close behind them. A 35-point lead is now dwindled. And since a competition adjustment mid-season where the Pontiacs had weight and a weight bias change added to them, they haven't seen victory lane. In the meantime, Mazda are on a roll. 3 out of 4 races they've seen victory lane. The only race they didn't win during that time was the wet race at Mid-Ohio. They have a lot of momentum right now.
And this is the Speed Source Engineering, the Castrol RX-8. Nick Ham and Sylvain Tremblay, they are in championship contention. Now, Calvin, you mentioned competition adjustments. They are appropriate and applicable again because there have been further changes made here coming into the Montreal round affecting the Mazda RX-8 and also the 2 types of Pontiac race car.
Well, Lee, I think the series officials thought that the Mazda could dominate the second half of the season, so they've added weight, 42 pounds, also implemented an RPM limit at 8,600. Previously, it was unlimited, but talking to the team, it's about a 200 to 300 reduction. So that's going to change their gearing a little bit. Will certainly put some reins on that Mazda. The Pontiac, they've got some of that weight bias back. A little bit more weight on the rear tires should help them in race trim here today.
Well, the points certainly reflect it, and also the feeling, the general feeling in the pit lane and around the paddock that this GT championship fight will be a colossal one. And Brian, till it's appropriate that one of the men in the middle hails from this very region.
Well, that's right, Lee. You know, you talk about this championship fight, and it's the guys at Speed Source Mazda that have been taking it to the guys down at Banner Racing in their Pontiac, and you talk about Montreal native Sylvain Tremblay is certainly that. Now, you guys have been closing in on this championship lead, but just about the time you can feel like you can reach it, they throw some different rules at you. What's going to affect you the most, Sylvain, the weight or the RPM?
I think a combination of both. I mean, obviously we're disappointed, but, you know, that's part of what Grand-Am, we believe in Grand-Am. We believe that they're trying to do everything we can. It's just, you know, are we up to the challenge? We'll see. I mean, you know, the RPM definitely hurts us. You know, rotary has no torque, so the only thing we've got is RPM. So you take that away from us, it's going to hurt us. But, you know, the rest of the chassis has been better. We can get the power down. The car brakes very well. So we still have some advantages. Not, you know, we're just not the package we had last week, but we'll see what happens this week.
Certainly no quit in this team, and I know there's no quit down at the Pontiac camp either, Chris.
Brian, in the last 4 races, the 07's 35-point lead has dropped to just 14. Paul, it looks like this team is hemorrhaging points. What is it going to take to stop the bleeding?
Well, you know, the Banner Engineering Pontiac, we've been working really hard on just cleaning our act up. We've had some tough little flaws, not quite go our way, you know, not like our team. But, you know, we've had a long talk about it, and we just got to, you know, really focus on having a nice, solid run. But Kelly's going to go out there and give him help for the first few laps here. He's going to do as long a stint we need until hopefully we can just pit one time here. And I just got to go and have a nice, consistent run and be there in the last 15 laps.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Well, as you've seen in the GT category, we've heard about Pontiac, we've heard about Mazda, where they stand in the championship standings, and also these new competition adjustments. However, that's only part of the story in GT, in Grand-Am, because we cannot forget about Porsche. Several teams well represented, but here in Montreal, the best today certainly has been that of Farnbacher Lowe's. The Danbury, Connecticut-based team have been represented so well because they have locked out the front row pole and outside pole, and the team, Brian, must be thrilled.
Oh, it's a great performance for the team. It looks like the Porsche really coming alive. I know you guys have had some competition adjustments as well, Greg, but when you look at what's happened to the Pontiac and the Mazda, is that what you guys need to get you back up front on a regular basis?
Well, there's no question the series has really taken this very seriously. We're working with Porsche. You know, I think they're getting close to a balance. Obviously, the lowering of the Porsche has helped a lot, but we have to keep in mind this is a good track for the Porsche, and also given that we're not running for a championship, we're out there. We're going to give it everything we have. Well, obviously, we want a result here. You know, the Banner cars and Speed Source, you know, they're fighting for the championship. You know, we'd love to have to be cautious, but we're really not. We're going to go out there. The boys are going to be aggressive. We want to win this race.
They're going for the win, guys.
Legends of this very sport have graced these very grounds for decades. 30 years of Formula One Grand Prix racing here. And when we come back, the Grand-Am Rolex Sports Car Series grows its own history. The second time here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve when we come back. we're back. What a beautiful afternoon and evening for racing, especially for those native drivers. Have a look at the Canadian connection. We have 10 drivers in total representing the nation here. And there are some very interesting names, some very accomplished drivers, but none other than Ronnie Fellows, who's standing by with Ryan Tell.
Well, when you come to Montreal, a lot of people think Gilles Villeneuve, but hey, what about Ron Fellows? He's a star in Canadian motorsports as well. Ron, a little further east than your hometown, but anytime you come back to race here in Canada, how special is it?
It's awesome, and particularly to race here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. You know, for a lot of us, Gilles was our hero, you know, and to get to race again on this track, particularly, it's been, I'm not going to, about 20 years since the last time we ran a NASCAR race here last year. So to get the opportunity to run 2 races here, it's cool. It's fun to help out the Pontiac guys when we can.
Always good to see Ron Fellows, especially back in Canada, Lee.
Yeah, we saw him at Lime Rock. Great to have him back in Grand-Am GT competition. Time now to walk through and talk about the Pirelli track map. Dorse, take it away.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is a really unique racetrack because it's got very long straightaways, 2.7 miles in length. But look at the straightaway length, a lot of top speed followed by hairpins, the first of which down here in turns 1 and 2. But it continues on, 6 and 7 tight, 9, 8, and 9, and back here the hairpin itself, 13 and 14 as well. So that being said, guys, good opportunity for outbraking somebody, but it is brutal on the brakes at this racetrack.
And speaking of brutal, there were some altercations and some errors made yesterday. Just a 2-day event, and this was day 1. Yesterday afternoon, and major dramas here involving the championship defending car, John Fogarty in the 99 and also the 61 in GT. 2 Porsches come together. The 87 Farnbacher Lowell's car and the 66 TRG Porsche. And then late in that session, there were multiple sessions yesterday, Max Angelelli had 2 incidents. Now remember, he is the defending race winner here. And then finally, the number 70 Speed Source Mazda had a rather innocent spin, no damage done, and they were able to get going again. Now, one team looking for success here today, and it's appropriate we see that green machine on screen. That's the 75 sister car to the 76. What a start it was by Ricardo Zonta 2 weeks ago at Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama. Check this out, starting from the second row of the grid, ducks to the inside, puts a move on Michael Valiente, and from that point, the former F1 driver did not look back. It was a great start and a great opening stanza. Sadly, the race didn't finish in the same fashion. But Chris, here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Zonta is pumped up for a big result.
And Lee, it looked like that Lola was going to be the first of the new constructors to win a race. Ricardo, you had that cut-down tire which brought you to pit lane. Can the team come back and win today?
I hope so. We try to do the best. We are start on the 6th position. We see. Of course, these are very hard on braking, you know, and we have to look for the brakes, for the tires. See, to finish well will be very good for us.
Lee, chemistry and experience are so important, and this is the first track of the season that both Ricardo and Nick have competed at previously.
2 very accomplished drivers, but them molding and melting together as one. Great combination, and they're only getting stronger with each and every race. Let's talk about points in the Daytona prototype class. There is a very, very healthy lead to the Ganassi combination of Rojas and Pruitt over the defending champions Gurney and Fogarty. And it may be difficult to bridge that, but the season is far from done. But then, interestingly enough, have a look how close it is. 2nd to 3rd, 3rd to 4th, back to 5th. There is a lot of racing and a lot to race for in this 2008 championship still to come. And we will keep reminding you about the various point scenarios as this race winds on and as the season grows old. Now, there's a lot on the line here today for that 01 Telmex Ganassi car. Boys, they've had an outstanding season as we draw the comparison with last year's champions, the 99 Gates Code team. 7 wins to those boys last year. Ganassi are coming on, and most importantly, Cal, they've got time on their side.
They do have time, and they're starting to show the dominance that we saw from the 99 team last year. And as you can see, 5 races to go to tie that record. I think they're going to take it further still.
Dorse, as usual, we've got some wonderful onboards here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Let's show you the 6-pack.
And actually, we can talk to some of these guys. One of them is the 60. That's Mark Patterson in the Riley Ford right there. We can also speak with the 07 with Kelly Collins behind the wheel as we talk about that. and the 70 car. We'll try to contact them as Nick Ham is behind the wheel there.
We're working our way very rapidly towards green. But first of all, let's bring you up to date with the Just for Men Touch of Grey race analysis. 45 minutes shy, this one. This is a 2-hour sprint. This is going to be fierce. It's going to be frantic.
One-stop strategy. Talking to the DP teams, they feel like they stop between 30 and 45 minutes. Dorsey, they may be able to do it on one stop here today.
And that 30, 45-minute rule means that any driver that needs to get points or wants points has got to complete 30 minutes. 45 minutes, all cars must stop in their pit box. We're about to go green.
They pack up, and in a change of strategy, Scott Pruitt has been the qualifying driver in the 01 Telmex machine. John Fogarty alongside him. Brian Frisselle was tucked right in behind, and Frisselle makes contact with Pruitt inside both Riley cars, and Brian Frisselle takes the lead of the race. He spins. There's contact with Pruitt.
And Pruitt tagged him there in the right rear, turned him around. Very aggressive start by Brian Frisselle.
And Pruitt's front end went up, I believe, guys. He might have damage on the front.
There's a different nose on this Riley, though, this year, Dawson. I think that might help this scenario. The nose is separate from the splitter.
GT start and the pole sitter, Eric Luck's first career pole. He was thrilled with that. Now he has to go on with it and try and convert it into their second victory of the season.
We talked about the hairpins here and how you get down there. It's not room for 2 or 3 cars. But you saw Frisselle. He was trying to make it known right away. They're going to be aggressive. They're not in the points chase.
1-2, Farnbacher Lowell's great work there. The 57 Stevenson Motorsports Corvette, rather Pontiac, I should say. Pruitt runs wide. That allows Fogarty to get close.
Fogarty will be aggressive here. They have nothing to lose either. If he takes him out, he knows it's good for points. Glides to the inside.
Hairpin turn for the first time. Brumos positioned nicely in third. Outside is Valiente. Pushing in is Nick Johnson.
Nick Johnson really being aggressive. Look at the lockup back there from the Kodak car.
That Lola is always great in race conditions, Dorsey. Qualifying 6, they'll be a factor today. But right now, Fogarty looking for a way by Pruitt. He was defensive down at the hairpin. What does he do here? At the cushion, it looks like the Lexus just stretched its legs a little bit there down that straightaway.
Speaking of stretching, look at the margin, second to third between Fogarty back to David Donahue. Brian?
Pruitt holding nothing back here, guys. You would think with a lead in the championship and 5 races to go and able to tie that record, they might lay back a little bit. But indeed, in qualifying, Pruitt whitewalled the whole right side of the car, laying down his pole lap. So these guys holding nothing back. You saw the aggression there in turn 1. They want to win every race they enter. In fact, they've got spotters out on the racetrack, and I heard him calling to Scott Pruitt just then on that last lap. Inside, inside, inside. He's taking a look. So they're even using spotters around a road course.
They're very comfortable with the lead they have in the points. That's one of the reasons they switched their position and let Scott Pruitt do this and let Memo Rojas finish the race out. I think these guys are going to race hard for the rest of the year. They're going to try to win in the rest of these races if they could do it.
You see some black bodywork on the 99 machine. Fogarty was involved in an incident in practice yesterday, and they haven't seen any track time since that. So a bit of a question mark as to whether this car has been fixed correctly. We've got the best in the business, the championship winning team, however.
How costly was that opening lap, opening corner altercation with Scott Pruitt? Brian Frisselle has dropped all the way back to 18th and last in class. Here it is again.
And I think it all starts right here. You see Frisselle up the inside in the black and gold car. Here, Pruitt, he bumped Pruitt. Pruitt just now gets into him.
He had nowhere to go, though, Dorsey. Brian tended to pinch that second corner there, and Pruitt was up on the curb on the right side. He had nothing to do with that.
It really hurt Frisselle, though, didn't it? I mean, that sent him way back.
Did see that nose pop up a little bit, but we're just getting back to that new Riley designed nose. It's separate from the splitter. Before it was all one piece. That could have been a problem. That is one thing they're trying to design into the car to make it more durable in those type of situations.
We'll keep a watchful eye on the front left of the 01 Telmex Lexus Riley if that damage is a factor as this race winds on. So it's Pruitt, Fogarty, Donahue. Christian Fittipaldi in the 16 up to 4th, Ricky Taylor up to 5th. And then he's being hunted by another Dallara in Michael Valiente. Johnson back to 7th, Orbel in 8th, Cosmo 9th, and John Pugh in the top 10 for Mike Shank Racing.
Christian Fittipaldi, what a return, running 4th, qualified in the 9th position on his return to Grand-Am competition. And look at young Ricky Taylor. Yeah. How impressive is this young man?
We are really impressed with Ricky Taylor. A guy like Christian Fittipaldi to come back in this series, well, it just ups everybody else's game around him, doesn't it? I mean, it just puts everybody back on the ball.
Good to see some new sponsorship on the Doran Dallara, Brock's Candy. And they were on for the next 3 races. This is the young man, the son of the team owner of the car behind. He's made an error, run off. That'll allow Valiente a run and gets by. He's lost a lot of momentum, has Ricky Taylor. He's lost 1 position, make it 3 positions.
That's the problem here. If you get off the racetrack, or if you really balk up a corner, you're going to be swallowed up by the whole pack.
See Billy Orville there in the Ruby Tuesday car. They've had a very problematic weekend. Blew a motor after just 3 laps of practice. Essentially lost the whole test day because it rained here late yesterday. But Billy Orville did a great job in qualifying the Ruby Tuesday car in 5th.
That team's smiling once again. They changed chassis. It's the 2nd race on this Riley chassis, and they really feel now they can be competitive.
The 09 is in the mix. That's Guy Cosmo. And that car continues to get better and better. John Pugh's having a promising opening run in 10th position ahead of Gene Siegel in 11th. Then JC Franz and Mark Patterson in 13th. Whoa, quick hands there from Michael Valiente through the opening sequence of turns. 1, 2. And 3. Early stages of this shortened 2-hour sprint here in Montreal, Canada. Stick around. The championship leader is your race leader. Nothing like a little teamwork. Farnbacher Lowles 1 and 2. Eric Lux leads Bryce Miller. That's exactly how they qualified in the GT class.
Bryce Miller, the 2nd car, has damage in the left rear, Calvin. You can see that bumper cover sticking out. That'll slow him up in the straightaways.
Well, he had an incident in practice yesterday, Dorsey, in that left side, in the door panel. So I have to wonder if that's a consequence of that. It's a little bit further back in this Porsche chassis, but it's peeled that back, and that will certainly affect the drag of this car going down these long straightaways here at Montreal.
If he can stick underneath his teammate like that, it'll help that situation out a lot, though.
Big day for the 87 boys. They've got some 220 guests from sponsors IPC and Positron, so they're hoping for a great result. We talk championship, though, and this is the 70 Speed Source Mazda RX-8 of Nick Ham running 3rd.
You see this racetrack, Calvin's very much like in the United States when we did a street circuit. It's very fast, but there's no room for error. If you spin out here, there's either a guardrail or a wall that you'll probably get into hard.
That's right, and we're at a critical stage in this GT Championship. If anyone falters here today, they're probably going to dig a hole they cannot get out of in the points.
Good scrap here. Andrew Davis in the 57 and Tim Lewis Jr. Both Pontiac's GXPRs. Remember, as Calvin mentioned at the top of the show, that competition adjustment and how the weight is distributed with 50-50 split now, front to rear.
That's going to help their cause a lot on braking and accelerating off these tight corners.
Look at Andrew being very defensive here.
He's going to get
just way by. They nearly traded paint there.
Yeah, they
the
did.
Pontiac teams.
He gave him a little bumper right there, no question about it.
The neat thing about this program is that they are able to share all of the information that they gather from the banner racing cars, the factory cars, essentially the 06 and 07. It's an open book. These drivers can walk into the transporter and ask for the information.
And what you saw right there was this, if you keep this blocking up, I'm going to turn you around. So I'm just letting you know that I've had it with this.
First year in these Pontiac GXPRs for both teams, for Stevenson Motorsports and the Auto House Group as well. They've learned a lot. They continue to learn more about these big beasts, the GXPRs. The battle for 4th continues. And then the 30. Mazda RX-8 of Doug Peterson is running 5th in class.
What a great run for Doug here, making his debut with that team. Ran some ALMS races earlier this season in a Corvette, so he's over here and is doing a tremendous job running up in the top 6.
It's time to talk TRG Porsches. Chris, tell us more.
Well, we know Andy Lally's been hopping around from sports cars to stock cars this year. Andy, you were back in the Porsche at Barber. You had a great run there. It's been a year since your last win with RJ Valentine right here at this racetrack. What is it going to mean to get back in victory lane?
It's going to mean a lot. You know, yeah, I haven't won a race in a year, but certainly not for lack of effort. This Johnny Love Vodka TRG race team has been putting in their heart and soul into this deal, and we've got fast race cars, and maybe we can make it. Maybe we can make it an anniversary win today here.
Well, Andy Lally's always exciting to drivers to see in that second half.
You know, Andy's pretty smart. You see him there with the headset on. He calls strategy as well. From on the pit box, you see him there. He's trying to talk his guys through the strategy of getting him into the next, ability to win.
Anyone who's worked with Andy Lally says he loves to talk. He gives you a running commentary. He's talking about the setup on the car during the practice sessions as he's driving. He likes to communicate.
42 of Will Nonamaker showing strong here in the Corvette. The run down to turn 1. Can't quite get it done there on the 66 of Ted Ballou.
Talked about earlier, guys, that all these hairpins really play havoc on the brakes. You got to really conserve some brakes, as here come the leaders coming through the GT field right now.
Well, this is where I think Fogarty is going to be really aggressively.
Yeah, he's got the opportunity to look for a way past. We see the 07, the championship GT leading car here. We ride with Kelly Collins, and he was having a good run. We just praised Doug Peterson, but I'm not sure Kelly will want to praise Doug. We have heard that the 30 Mazda will receive a drive-through penalty, unnecessary contact with this car we ride with. Collins is way back in the class.
Wow, look at this. These guys almost touching.
You have to think about the big picture here. Fogarty, they're 60 points behind in this championship. They've got to be aggressive. They've got to win races. If they have to rough up Scott Pruitt, so be it.
And Fogarty will rough you up if need be, let me tell you that.
Mentioned just a few moments ago about that unnecessary contact between the 30 Mazda and the 07 Pontiac. Let's take you back and show you what happened, boys.
Not much room to go there, Cal.
Yeah, down at that final chicane, and no, I mean, Kelly was on the inside there, Doug to the outside, so it's hard to tell from that angle who was at fault.
Just checked in with the team, and you know, this is not anything that they needed. Remember, they're losing ground in the championship, or certainly have been, and now this. Paul Edwards had an incident yesterday in practice and damaged the car and was out for a long time, so they haven't gotten a lot of laps on the racetrack at all this weekend, and now to be set back even further is going to be a big problem. Dorsey, you talked about brakes. Paul Edwards told me after about 5 laps, the pedal starts to get long and soft, so they're really going to have to conserve brakes here, especially in the GT class.
And you know what I see with this team when I look at the team from the outside looking in? I see a team that's kind of lost its momentum. It's kind of lost its mojo, if you will. You know, the things are going well with it, and they just haven't been able to regroup and get it working.
Let's ride with Hollywood actor Patrick Dempsey here in the Hypersport Mazda, car number 40.
Christian Fittipaldi just went buzzing on by there.
Those RPM just being reduced, but it's still up in the mid-8s, 8,600 now, the maximum RPM on the Mazda.
You know, Lee, I was talking with Patrick earlier this weekend, and he was so excited about the season. He was kind of bummed out when he had all the responsibilities of the movie that was coming out this spring. Missed a few races, but since then, he's really been behind the wheel of that Mazda. But then he was saying, you know what, after this race, we have quite a break until New Jersey. So, you know, I'm kind of bummed out that I'm not going to be driving as much as I did in July, but I'm really going to try and stay sharp, get in a go-kart, and run the go-kart the whole month. So when we do get to New Jersey, I'll still be fresh.
And he's so committed. Oh, we lose the 88. It spins. Dave Lacey.
Now, we heard a report that there was, and look at the oil. This is oil right here on the racetrack. I think he lost an engine. Watch these guys. Watch these guys. They're in trouble now.
They're his teammates. They're the other Farnbacher Lowell's car. They're first and second.
See the trail out of the back of David Lacey's car. What a shame. His teammate Steve Johnson laid down some great laps in practice yesterday up in the top 5. Chris?
Well, Brian, that car, I'm sorry there, Cal, that car was sitting here on pit lane for just a couple minutes because they've got clutch problems with it. So they lost a couple laps trying to get that clutch working. It looked like they had hopefully tried to get things going. I don't know what's going on with the car right now, but early on already, clutch problems with the 88.
Well, that's kind of weird. We got a lot of fluid on the racetrack, Chris, for sure. The 88's running. We'll have a replay here of what happened to it. We had a report of smoke first.
Second car in shot.
That's on the right front. That's something like brake fluid or antifreeze, possibly the radiator.
Radiators are up front in that front grille there.
Right front radiator. That is coolant for sure. And there he goes, spitting in his own water. And you can see it just pouring out of the right front, Cal.
Been a big week for David.
Big week for David. He and his wife, Julie, celebrated the birth of their first child, a baby girl, Eden Elizabeth. And that was on the early hours, in the early hours of Tuesday morning. So we congratulate those guys on that wonderful occasion.
So everybody behind them is really thankful that was water and not oil.
Meanwhile, the other Farnbacher Lowell's cars are running very strong. 1-2 up front. Luck still leads from his first career pole.
Dirk Werner, remember, he was robbed. He and Bryce Miller were robbed late last year. They were extremely frustrated when they got caught in some traffic. They feel they should have won this race last year. They're now in a very strong position, running second in the early stages of this one. Up front, it is still Pruitt, Fogarty, and Donahue. 1, 2, and 3 in the Daytona prototypes and overall. Back in Montreal, you're watching Speed's coverage of the Grand-Am Rolex Series, and you're watching the number 23 Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing Porsche-powered Riley. This is Billy Aublin, multiple-time series champion. driving the car. He's currently in 6th position, chasing, hunting down Michael Valiente for a top 5. And Chris, this is looking good for these guys this weekend.
Lee, and this team is coming back from an engine failure they had yesterday, which they only got 12 laps of practice. Joey, now that Billy's had a little time on the racetrack, what's he saying about the car?
Well, right now he hasn't said a whole bunch. That's a good thing out of Bill. He's liking it. I'm watching at times. He's running people down right now. I think we got a good shot at this. You know, we love to come into Montreal and race. Only thing about Montreal is no Ruby Tuesday. I know the guys in the booth love Ruby Tuesday, so we're all anxious to get back and get us a garden salad, some mini burgers, and you know, maybe we'll celebrate on the podium today.
Good luck, man.
It must feel like an eternity since Homestead, the 2nd round, where they picked up their one and only podium of the year. Boy, that would boost Alex Jogues' team to grab another one.
Right on board here with Mark Patterson. You can see how tight this racetrack really is. Like I said before, it's like going to a street circuit. There's not a lot of room.
A couple of cars ahead of this pack, you can see Brian Frisselle, who's on recovery mode. He dropped all the way down to 17th, now back up in the top 10.
There he is, just ahead of the 60. And this car is the car in question and the topic of discussion. Mark Patterson had an anxious moment just a short while ago. Let's show you.
And that's the battle up there. That's the 61 and the 59.
JC put the squeeze on Brian there. You're not coming through at this corner.
Brian Frisselle trying to come after that spin up through the back, and JC had none up.
Well, also, too, it's good for Brian to be at the front end of a race. Typically, we see Brian Frisselle finish the races, so something a little different for him this weekend. And he showed at Barber Motorsports Park just how aggressive, how forceful, how fast he can be.
And Calvin, you know what I like? We saw that skirmish at the beginning of the race. We see these skirmishes as they go along. These cars are good and sturdy. They can do that kind of rubber on each other and not do damage.
They can, and you talk about not doing damage. Brian Frisselle is running laps about 3 to 4 tenths off the current leader, and he's in the middle of the pack, so he's certainly showing a lot of speed. They just stay patient. This race can come back to them.
This is one of 2 Ford-powered Rileys for Mike Shank Racing, their Ohio-based team, and they're coming off the best combined team result ever of a 3rd and a 4th at Barber Motorsports Park. But at Barber, it was the number 6 car, the sister one to this, that finished on the podium. Let's hear from one of its drivers.
Well, all weekend long at Barber, they were very fast and a great run for not only John Pugh and Mark Patterson, but I know Ian James Yu and Oswaldo Negri had a good run towards the end as well. When you come here to Montreal and John has more experience here than other racetracks, is that even more a help for you guys?
Yeah, ever since we rolled off the trailer, John's been on fire here. You know, he's up to 8th place already, so it's a real bonus for us.
This Mike Shank team so fast here, and this Ford-Riley combination really seems to have worked for this team throughout the season. When you come here, what's the advantage of having that package?
You know, it's an all-round package. We've got very good horsepower, we've got good low-down power, and Shank's developed it better than anybody else.
This team running really strong here, through, especially all season long, but the last couple of races, they're looking for another good run here. Lee?
We wish them well, that's for sure. Particularly John Pugh, because he's had some moments here in racing in the past that he'd like to forget about. So far, so good. He's improved his position, running in 8th at the moment in the 6 Mike Shank racing car. Pruitt has less than a 1-second lead over John Fogarty. David Donahue is 3rd, and then we join these 2 gentlemen. Christian Fittipaldi, as Cal mentioned in his return drive to the Grand-Am Rolex Sports Car Series, doing a wonderful job fending off Billy Aublin, who has got by Michael Valiente.
I'd make it 3 cars. Michael's not that far back.
Yeah, he's right there.
Look at there.
Great to see Christian back, and he said it was a big adjustment. He'd had a little bit of time off, and he jumped in the car and missed the first 2 braking points on his initial laps out here this weekend. So you can see him slicing through the traffic. That's Bryce Miller currently running his 2nd in GT, and that'll be the GT leader up ahead of him. There's Billy Aublin. But he said we do have more updates on the way with this Coyote chassis. They're doing a test in a couple of weeks with some mechanical updates, hoping to really make the most out of these Pirelli tires.
They say that often the hardest championship to win is not your first, it's the one that you have to defend. Is that the situation with Dirk Werner, Chris?
Well, Lee, and last year Dirk Werner was the picture of consistency. Dirk, it's been a real up and down year, but it looks like things are starting to go back in the direction of the Porsche. You guys ready to break out and get a win?
It looks very good right now for the team. We have 1-2, and it seems that the track is really playing into our hands. It has a long straight, which doesn't mean that the Porsche can turn, but it has also chicanes, which is pretty good, I guess, for the Porsche. So the car is really fast. I mean, it looks like we just have to bring it into to the finish. And the setup of the car was good right from the beginning. You know, we didn't do a lot of changes to the car, so I'm very optimistic so far, but the track is very narrow. A lot of things can happen. You really have to watch out for the DPs, which are who are sometimes really aggressive and have their own race. So we have to play it a little conservative now, and then probably I'm going to race my teammate by the end of the race for the win.
Well, guys, looking at the car on the racetrack yesterday, it definitely looked like one of the best GT cars, not only Porsches, but best GT cars out there, Brian?
Well, John Fogerty and Alex Gurney. Frustration, Alex, probably in a strong enough spurt for this season. I know you guys have been really frustrated. And when you get to this point of the season, is it all about the championship, or do you just throw that out the window and go for the win and be a little more aggressive and take some more chances?
Well, you know, with a 60-point gap, we pretty much got to go for the win every time. And John's running very well. You know, we had a rough start to the weekend, and I've been a little concerned because I only ran a couple laps at the beginning of the first session. But anyway, it looks like the car's working very well, and I saw, you know, Pruitt had a little bit of contact there in turn 1, so maybe their nose is a little messed up. So I hope it doesn't give them any minor problems.
and John, being the little terrier that he is, isn't going to let go of the back of that car in front of him, is he?
Yeah, that's for sure. He's a Charger, and he'll be on him the whole time.
It should be a good one to the end, Lee.
Alex drove so well at Barber Motorsports Park until the team, their progress was hampered and finally stopped by that clutch problem. Maybe today can be their day up here in Montreal, where John Fogerty has already enjoyed a lot of success in years gone by. We'll be back. Look at this, back at Montreal, the fight for the lead, Scott Pruitt, John Fogerty. A lot of history between these two teams, the Ganassi and Gainsco organizations, fierce rivals right to the very end last year in the 2007 championship, and it's on again here.
Fogerty jumped on the power early there, tried to take advantage of the traffic. It's a tough corner to pass into that first chicane. Pruitt was up for the task. He's loving life, Dorsey. He loves the challenge of this form of racing. Feels he's still totally on top of his game. He said, the moment I feel I'm not, I will retire. But right now he is winning races.
And they have such a big point lead. I don't think they have to be conservative like you normally would do. I think they can go ahead and race. And for Fogerty, they're in the 99 Gainsco car. These two guys have blood already against them. So I think it's going to get brutal. I think before this next 5 races is over, these two teams are going to have a war.
I'll tell you what, these two teams are going to have a partner here in a moment in the form of David Donahue. Look at him coming. Pruitt defends the inside line into the hairpin once again.
That's a good move by Fogerty, though, to just make his intentions known. But however, David Donahue is really coming in, like you said, Calvin. He's moving into be a third car.
Well, did you see the look on Darren Law's face when he spoke to Chris earlier in the show? That you don't often see Darren Law like that. Brian, I think the Brumos boys are all primed for a big one.
They are primed, Lee, and when you watch this team throughout the season, the first 4 races of the year, they stumbled, bad finishes, but in the last 5 races, they've been in the top 5 every single time, 2 fifths and 3 seconds, and they have challenged for the lead. They've qualified on the pole. They've been very strong. I asked Hurley Haywood about this resurgence of the Brumos team, and he said, look, you got to remember the Riley chassis is still relatively new to us. We got it at the end of last year. Then we lost Bob Snodgrass, who was the team leader here, and that was a huge emotional impact on this team. They've also had some other personnel changes, and Hurley Haywood had to get used to his new role managing this group. But he said it's all beginning to gel, and I think that's what you saw after the first 4 races. It came good, and we're on our way to the front.
I think you're absolutely right, Brian. When you start to return to tracks where you have some information to work from in terms of your notebook, in terms of what the Riley needed, they're really starting to catch on. They've really got their arms now around the different strategy that is needed with the 30-45 minute rule. And week in, week out, they're fast. 3 podiums out of the last 4 races has shown they are ready to win.
So that's 1, 2, 3. How about 4, 5, 6? Christian Fittipaldi is still in a top 4 position, fending off the challenges of Bill Aublin, Michael Valiente. Chris, looking good for Christian's return drive.
Well, we know how hard it is to run a team in such a competitive series, let alone debut a new chassis. Eddie, how do you feel about running this new car this year?
We really didn't have any choice. We modified it when we picked it up from Fabcar. We've changed aerodynamics. Now we're working on the mechanical side, but This is such a competitive series with Delara and Lola and Riley in it that it's really impossible to not stick with the competition if you don't keep bringing new things. But I'm having so much fun watching Christian right now that I have a hard time concentrating on you.
What does it mean to this team to have Christian and Antonio paired up again?
Well, Antonio has just won the Le Mans 24 Hours with Aston Martin, and it's nice to have Christian back. I think there's another series that races in sports car in the States, and it's I'm not sure what it's called, but it's their loss and our gain. This is a great series, very aggressive, and it's good to have a guy like Christian with so much heart in the car. He hates losing, and you can tell that now on the track.
Well, another one of these new chassis that's just looking to break through and get their first win.
And he was the one who, of course, brought Antonio Garcia to the Chiva Racing crew. And, of course, we talk and we naturally associate Circuit Gilles Villeneuve with Formula One. Of course, 30 years of Formula One racing here. And we highlight some of Eddie's achievements in Formula One.
Car that just went through the screen there, Brian Frisselle, Dorsey. He is absolutely flying now, all the way up to 7th.
Yeah, I saw it too. Look at him here, working through it. Actually, that's Tiver's car. But Brian Frisselle is going to catch these guys. He's been catching them, and he's driving extremely aggressively. I'm sure he's aggravated about that Pruitt spin-out business up there in the lap 1, turn 1.
Remember how far and how deep he dropped to 18th and last in class, to now be running 7th, chasing down these two guys at the front of the pack. Pruitt, Fogarty, Donahue, Fittipaldi, Orblin, Valiente, top 6, then Brian Frisselle, Nick Johnson, John Pugh, and JC France has broken into the top 10. Both Brumos Porsches in the 10.
Wow, Calvin, they're in heavy traffic right now, and this is where John Fogarty might take the big pounce. I mean, he's going to look for a way to go around one of these cars. When Pruitt makes his move, say, to the inside, I would see Fogarty go to the outside.
Yeah, he's very aggressive, but he's pretty clean too, so he's not going to try and take Pruitt out. But look at Donahue. He is the fastest car on the racetrack. 34.3. He's a couple of tenths faster than the cars in front of him.
You know, remember the last couple of races how that car, the Brumos car, comes on the longer it goes green? The car seems to get quicker the more laps are put on those tires.
Remember the storyline with that 58 Brumos Porsche. 5 years ago was its last victory at Mont-Tremblant here outside of Montreal in Canada. It could be their return to victory lane, and Donahue is as close as he's been to John Fogarty. 2 cars now turns into 3.
Well, this will make it tricky for Fogarty as he tries to put the pressure on Pruitt and tries different lines. He has to be careful that David Donahue doesn't take advantage to us.
Well, that's the thing now, because if he does make a move to the inside, he's going to have to make it stick, because if he gets stuck to the inside, Donahue will take the position.
This
and he's the quickest car. It could or could not. He might get the chrome horn. Oh, here we go.
He gets in too late.
Oh, no. Fogarty inside Pruitt. This is Salt Lake City all over again.
That's lost the rear end. Dorsey, who's on the brakes with a little bit of steering input, it got away from. He touched Pruitt. That saved Fogarty and turned Pruitt around.
But that's what I was talking about. I mean, he had to make the move. Fogarty had to do something. Unfortunately, when the back end kicked out, it touched Scott's car. It wasn't an intentional hit. I can tell you that right now.
He probably had good brake bars, good brake balance the lap before, but just being on the brakes that little bit deeper, it pins the nose a little bit more, takes weight off the front, the rear of the car.
Scott's going to be fuming.
So he's lost 2 positions, but they had quite an advantage over the rest of the field. So Pruitt slots into 3rd. New race leader is the 99 of John Fogarty. Let's take you to the replay. Back to turn 10, the hairpin corner, and relive that moment with John Fogarty, Scott Pruitt.
Well, Calvin, like you said, the pressure gets to him. He tries to go inside, the back end steps out, they make contact. It was not an intentional hit. I mean, he was trying to make the pass, the back end kicked out. Pruitt got the worst of that.
He looked to the inside, but that window was closing quickly, and he had nowhere to go, had to use more brake pressure, and that's where it got away from him.
Well, here's another little deal that we didn't see. This was a little, I'm back here, and I really need to get by you.
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah, and David Donahue is right behind me, and he's there too.
And I wouldn't have expected anything different. I mean, they have nothing to lose. I mean, the 99 car has to win, as Alex Gurney said. They're going to push the issue now.
And the 58 is yet to win a race. How badly do they want, and what are they willing to do after last week getting shoved off?
So you see a little bit of damage there to that left front corner. That probably happened down in turn 2 on the opening lap when Brian Frisselle was involved with Pruitt there when he was climbing the curb.
That spin cost Pruitt about 8 seconds. That's the margin from second back to third, and then it's an even larger one than that back to Christian Fittipaldi in fourth. In GT, just to update you, it's still Farnbacher Lowell's 1-2. Eric Lux, the pole sitter and race leader, class leader, over Bryce Miller. Nick Ham in the Mazda is third. Andrew Davis is fourth, and Doug Peterson in that Mazda is in the top 5 in class. Kelly Collins trying desperately to claw his way back, and we have heard from race control that 99 will get a penalty for avoidable contact.
And personally, my opinion, which I'm entitled to, is that is not the right call.
I don't think so either, Dorsey. I mean, as all the guys pushing hard, you know, he got to the inside, he didn't just ram him, he was on the brakes late and lost the rear end. He started to spin and eventually caught out Scott Pruitt. So 16 car is in, very close to the 30-minute mark here where both drivers will score points.
Yeah, Cal, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of DP action here in pit lane. This team rolling the dice early to try and get some track position if the track does go yellow. Antonio Garcia giddy behind the wheel. He'll finish this race out. This team is so close to breaking through. They've had a lot of speed out of the car. They just need everything to kind of align right now. And talking with Eddie Cheever before the race, he said, Antonio Garcia, I've worked with a lot of drivers, but this guy is definitely one of the best. Not only driving, but setting up the car. He's incredible.
I think this is a great move strategy-wise, because if there's any form of yellow, the first guy who pits, they stay on the lead lap. They will then assume the lead. So I think that's a great strategy call by the Cheever Racing team.
That was 31.5 minutes in, so now everybody that's out there can get points. And I agree with you, Calvin. That is a fast car. We saw that. Now he's got track position.
The key is, can they make it on fuel if we stay green? That's a long run, nearly an hour and a half. That's not going to work, so they're going to need some help from yellow, otherwise they will be in pit lane again. And here we see the 90 car with that penalty situation.
Boy, you know, I just hate to see this, because that was hard racing, really hard racing, where a guy got sideways underneath the guy and bumped him. You know, Pruitt wasn't that far back. He could have still gone up there and paid him back or whatever. But anyway, I mean, it is what it is.
I think, to be fair to the officials, they're pretty much giving these boys some rope, but if you turn someone around and gain position, that seems to be the line in the sand.
And I think they might be thinking, like I was, that there's 5 races to go, and these two guys are going to get at it really hard from this point forward.
So Fogarty serves the penalty, returns to the racetrack, and David Donahue in the Brumos Porsche is the new race leader. We need to squeeze in a quick break. We'll be back. There will be a flurry of pit stops. Stick around. Quick reminder for you, 7:30 Eastern this Sunday morning. It's the Hungarian Formula One Grand Prix right here on Speed, one of the most beautiful settings in the world. But there is a fierce points battle going on, as we know. Can Lewis Hamilton, who's been victorious here in Montreal, your Lewis, Cal, can he stay on top? 7:30 this Sunday morning Eastern. Join Bob and the boys for the Hungarian Formula One Grand Prix.
F1 stuff is almost as exciting as this year.
That's a thrilling championship battle. The 40 of Patrick Dempsey continues, having a good strong run, trying to make ground on Will Nonamaker. But if you've just joined us, there has been no shortage of activity here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Have a look to the right here. Oh, that's Billy Aublin going through. And then that's Brian Frisselle squeaking around the outside of Patrick Dempsey.
Poor Patrick just got a little acting lesson right there. It was bad acting.
Drama here for Tim Lewis Jr.
Now there's a complete tire carcass off of that car. I haven't seen which one it is, though.
72, Tim Lewis Jr.
Left front, it looks like to me, Calvin. It's riding around right now, and I think probably we'll take a look when it makes his corner. The tire might still be up, and it might have thrown the tread, but I'm not sure until we see it.
Hopefully, if there's no damage, this shouldn't hurt them too bad strategy-wise, because they could do a driver change now, get that out of the way, and there could be a full course yellow with this carcass out on the racetrack.
When the guys in the pits take a look at this car, I think the tire's still up, and it's thrown its tread, and that's quite unusual. These do not have inner liners like NASCAR cars do, so if that tire's still up, it indicates a big problem.
Well, we see a caution-plagued race. 5 cautions last year. People are anticipating a lot of yellows in this race. Brian, tell us more about the Auto House Pontiac.
When it comes to a stop, Tim Lewis Jr. brings it to a stop. Terry Borcheller will take over. And Borcheller had a good run here last year in a Mustang. The third, I believe it was. But this team struggling with brakes in practice yesterday, so really working with a brake package. And once again, these GT cars, hard to stop out here, and brakes obviously are a premium here in Montreal. Right now, tires going on. Terry Borcheller going in a full load of fuel. This team trying to make their way back from an early problem, guys.
This is a big break because he got in before the pit lane was closed, so if there's not too much damage, they get him out there, stay on that lap. But what a break for the Cheever boys. We talked about them pitting, getting that pit stop done, staying on the lead lap, and then everyone else cannot come in because the pit lane is closed.
Well, it's smoking already. See this? Now you watch this car. It's shredding the tire right now, and there it goes. Now, I think that was indeed a puncture that the tire went down on air pressure and started building a lot of heat, and Calvin, it just finally exploded off of the car.
And if there is a little bit of luck there, Cal, where it happened on the track.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you can see it clearly. That was a puncture. That it was not a tire failure. It was due to a puncture.
They could be in pretty good shape here.
Yeah, they could.
Have to see how it cycles here as to where the rest of the pack is. But big question mark is if they stayed on the same lap, which they may not have done, looking at the position of the leaders now halfway around the lap.
Caution helps Fogarty too in the 99 as far as the distance between those boys, and certainly from third to fourth as well. Fourth place car bunches up nicely because there was a massive gap.
Key with Fogarty's penalty, of course, you cannot do any servicing on the car when you're serving a penalty, so he rolled down pit lane with no service done, so they'll need to do some action on the 99 car shortly.
And it'll be interesting to see if they do anything about any body damage on that car. Certainly they'll look at the 01 and 99 both, I would say.
Gray area I'm not sure of in the rules. With the 99 car coming down pit lane, does that suffice, stopping before the 45-minute mark or not? I assume you have to be in your own pit box to do that, so I think they will still need a pit again before the 45-minute mark to be within the rules.
What a beautiful location we have here on Ile Notre Dame in Montreal. Grand-Am, take a look at that. We're just across the way, and good crowd here. It's a big weekend, double-header weekend with the NASCAR Nationwide Series racing here tomorrow, and Canadians love their motorsport. We know that. Very educated in racing, and what a history this place has. As we always do, we'll make the most of the full course yellow. We'll squeeze in another quick commercial break and be back with more on the other side of this. How is this one going to play out? The short 2-hour sprint. We'll find out. Yellow here in Montreal, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Round 10 of the Grand-Am Rolex Sports Car Series for Daytona Prototypes and GT. However, only 3 races left for the GT category. Now, pits are open for Daytona Prototypes first. That's how the sequence works, and pit road is about to come alive, Chris Neville.
Well, it looks like everybody's going to be coming to pit lane, but remember the 16 car was already here, so they're going to move up nicely. Now, what's going to be imperative is everybody getting these pit stops done perfect, because they're a little bit light on fuel right now, so it's going to be a slower stop on fuel, about 20 seconds fuel, 20 seconds for tire, 20 seconds for driver change, and the 16 car was a little bit slower on their driver change. Everything going well with the SunTrust car right now. A little bit of damage, so definitely some pushing and shoving going out there. Max the Axe getting behind the wheel. The 23 car, Joey Hand getting behind the wheel in that car, and up at the front, Brian Till's looking like he's with the Brumos team.
Well, the race is on pit lane, Chris, right now. David Donahue's brought the 58 to a stop. Darren Law getting in, but right in front of them, the 01 is in, trying to get their stop done. Remember, this should be the only stop of the race for Daytona Prototypes. Every bit of fuel going in the 58. It's taken a long time, and the 01 beats him off pit road.
Oh, and the 10, Angelelli comes right around the outside.
Well, good stuff, boys, in the pits.
That's why you practice. That's why you rehearse. Great stuff down on pit lane.
Chris, you got more about the Cheever boys?
Well, guys, I would think the Cheever guys would stay out on the racetrack, but they took advantage of this. They wanted to get a little bit more fuel in the car, so they also came to pit lane to top the 16 car off. But since they only had to put fuel in, they still beat the rest of the pack out of pit lane.
Wow, that's another great call. I mean, talk about working the strategy, realizing that if you're stacked up, you can come in, just take that splash of fuel, then you're on the same strategy fuel-wise as everyone else, and you got the track position.
Beautiful work.
Really a good call.
Now GT are next. DP cycles through first as far as pit stops. Then the pit lane is open next lap round for the GT competitors. So it's Farnbacher Lowell's 1 and 2. Porsche, then Mazda, the Speed Source boys. Then it's the first of the Pontiacs with Andrew Davis from Stevenson. And then John Meraki's boys, Doug Peterson in the number 30 Mazda. So that's how that stands. Remember, this is our closest championship chase of the two classes. 14 points between the 07, the Pontiac GXPR, and the 70 Speed Source. But in the manufacturer's chase, it's even closer. Just 13 between the GM Mark and the German manufacturer.
And one thing I should clarify for the folks at home is that in this type of racing in Grand-Am, when you get a full course caution like that, after all the cars are gathered behind the pace car, on the first time by, only the DPs can make their pit stop. That's why you didn't see these GT guys intermixed with them. Now, on the second time by, if they wanted to, the GT cars could make their pit stop.
So you see the hamster in his cage.
He's happy in there.
He is.
We're building towards the round of GT stops. That large structure you saw in the background of the previous shot, the Biosphere. That's part of Environment Canada and is a museum dedicated to water and the environment. Of course, was the US Pavilion. There was a building within the US Pavilion in Expo 67 and a very familiar landmark here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Anytime I wake up in one of those places, I've done something bad wrong. If it looks like that in the morning, something is wrong.
All right, here we go. It's the GT boys' turn, and the GT teams will come alive. Pressure's on here. Will it stay Farnbacher Lowell's 1-2? The Speed Source boys, they're very handy in the pits, we know that. And so too are the Stevenson gang in the hands of Mike Johnson. Here we go with the GT stops.
Lee, in that last group of stops, the teams were just perfect with fuel and tires. It really came down to the drivers that were taking their time getting in and out of the cars, and we're making the stops take longer. So let's see if we can see these GT drivers do any better. We got Dirk Werner getting in the 87, Lee Keane getting in the 86 on the Farnbacher cars up in the air. Both of them taking fuel. It's going to be, once again, about 20 seconds of fuel on these cars. Couple body panels on the 87 hanging off. So Bryce Miller doing a little pushing and shoving out on the racetrack. Lee Keane getting strapped up. Brian, what do you have going on down with the Mazdas?
70 is in. Nick Ham out of the car. Sylvain Tremblay taking over. And once again, the race is on pit lane. It'll all be for track position. Tires, right side tires going on the Mazda, and Tremblay is in. Also taking a full load of fuel. I look back down pit lane. No movement out of the Farnbacher camp yet. Don't see the Porsches underway. So a good stop going on down here at the Speed Source camp. Tremblay fires the engine. Car still up on jacks. The last bit of fuel is going in. 87 coming down pit road, and there's trouble on the 86. Routine stop down here, but the 87 gets by. What's going on down there, Chris?
Brian, the 86 just left the car that really led this race for a while. Problems on that right rear corner. They came down before the tire was on, so the car had to go back up in the air, losing precious seconds. So the team car, the 87 car, beat it out, and it looks like it fell quite a ways back in the GT grid.
With the GT cars, it's a little trickier getting those wheels on. It's a 5-stud arrangement as opposed to the single nut on the hub dorsey, so finger trouble can be rampant there.
Yeah, every pit stop you make, you run into the trouble of, if any of these things go wrong, a wheel nut jams or something like that. It's a tough deal. These guys are trying to get it done fast, but they're not set up to do it the same way a NASCAR team might be.
All right, the track has been cleaned up. The debris cleared. Daytona prototypes and GT cars have had their pit cycles. When we come back, we'll go racing. We're back in Canada. You're watching Grand-Am on speed, and you ride with Oswaldo Negri, part of Mike Shank Racing. Last year he was powered by Lexus, and Lexus in 2006 won 7 races. That's what the Ganassi squad are trying to do again this year. And speaking of Lexus drivers, let's hear from one of them.
Scott Pruitt just climbed out of his car, and when you're racing out there with guys that don't have anything to lose, it really gets tight. What happened out there with the 99?
I didn't think John Fogerty could drive, and he still can't drive. So, he makes too many mistakes. He thinks he can make moves that he just can't handle. He gets in too deep, he runs into cars. I feel bad for him. He's trying hard, but he just makes too many mistakes.
And it was brutal out there, and it didn't take long. Turn 1 right at the start of the 61.
Yeah, it was going right from the start. The Telmex car's running good. We're setting a pace. We're trying to run hard, but not tear up the brakes. I think the brakes are being the hardest. and you really had to be careful picking your way through traffic. The toughest thing was about the first 5-6 laps. All that oil that was laid down by one of the Nationwide cars made it pretty treacherous through that 2, 3, 4 complex. That's been the worst part of the race so far.
Well, guys, you were saying no love lost down here, and it is definitely the case, Lee.
Yes, still plenty of feeling between the two teams, and we go back racing, and it is the Southern Motorsports Lexus-powered Riley that leads the way with Shane Lewis behind the wheel.
Their great story continues, Lee. The little team that seems to make it happen. They pitted on lap 1, so they didn't need to pit with the rest of these boys. Really gained them tremendous track position, put them at the front of the pack, but they have 23 laps less fuel on board. They will definitely need another stop unless we have carnage out here this afternoon.
But Calvin, they are at the front of the field, aren't they?
They are, but we believe that with just a little bit of yellow, the rest of these DP cars will be good to the checkered flag with not an additional pit stop. Here we see the 99 car down to the inside. This is Alex Gurney. He's only seen 2 or 3 laps of practice here this weekend, but immediately making his mark.
Quite the move to put on this year's GT1 Le Mans 24-hour class winner, Antonio Garcia. Chris.
Well, Lee, not only Garcia running well, but Christian Fittipaldi back in the Rolex series. Good to have you back. Who made the aggressive call to bring you guys in early?
Well, I sort of was shouting on the radio to come in a little bit earlier. So under normal conditions, like Antonio would go out on warm tires or hotter tires because he would have done a couple of laps and maybe would have been a little bit better than the guys that were fighting with me that would have gone out on cold tires. But we also had a yellow that helped a little bit, but the strategy sort of went a little bit to how we had planned before the start of the race.
Well, Calvin, you were right. The team will need one more caution. Oh, it looks like problems on the racetrack, Lee.
Yeah, Chris, Oswaldo Negri is done for the day. Major dramas on the 60.
Looks like an oil fire, too, there underneath the car. We've heard a blown engine, and we'll see. It might blow itself off, blow itself out. I'm not sure if Oz knows yet. It has gone out. That's the good news. He gets off the racetrack.
This is very unusual for the Ford power plant. They had a slight problem with the 61 car that was leading at Barber just a couple of weeks ago, but this is devastating to their points charge, Lee.
And earlier in the season, you're talking about a team who were in the mix, who were up in the top 4 for the championship. Really going well. Yeah, Negri and Patterson.
At first, you might think that is a locked-up brake, but there you see the fire from the oil. Now, here's the question, Calvin. I don't know that the thing is blown up or if an oil line has come loose.
Right.
This has been an extraordinary year for fires in the Daytona prototypes. We have had way more than usual. All right, there is the team owner, Mike Shank. Let's hear from him. Brian's there.
Well, Mike just turns around. Mike, after such a good run at Barber on both cars, kind of an uncharacteristic mechanical problem here. Was it a loose line or did the engine let go?
We don't know yet. Honestly, we don't know. I'll know in about 5 seconds here.
Well, and I know disappointment because we'd spoken with Oswaldo Negri and Mark Patterson about the points, and Oz was even saying, I'm driving uncharacteristically cautiously because of the points. This is a huge disappointment.
Yeah, it's going to be tough on us. We'll probably fall back a couple spots. It's going to hurt.
This team won't quit, though, will it?
No, we'll keep going.
They'll definitely quit going. A man, a few words, but right now, guys, they're focused not only on the next race, but also on the 6 car for this event.
Let's listen to this engine for a minute. Well, I couldn't hear a thing right there.
Oh, it was tough to really determine what was going on with that Ford power plant there, but a major disappointment, as you could tell, in Mike Shank's voice there. And here we see Alex Gurney now putting the pressure on Shane Lewis.
Well, from one Ohio-based team that has had frustration, we talk about another one that's really enjoying the limelight up front.
New engineer on the squad this week, Johnny Shapiro, has been drafted in, and he really doesn't have any experience with these Daytona prototypes, but he's run a lot of high horsepower cars before, and it's all about chemistry, how you relate the communication process between the drivers and the engineer, and that's tough on a short weekend.
And it's really tough on a short weekend, as you saw some debris flag out there.
Cal, you say about plenty of experience with high horsepower cars. He brings with him a truckload from the Camel GT days. So really enjoying his challenge with Daytona prototypes. Let's hear from one of the Canadian drivers here this weekend, Michael Valiente.
Michael, the team's having a good, strong comeback this year. Last year, this race was the first race since you guys won. What are the issues with the 10 car right now?
Handling-wise, it's working really well. It was tough on the start there. Pruitt ran right to the side of Frisselle and spun him out. So I was kind of left hung out to dry on that first lap. But we're just having some braking issues right now. After the third or fourth lap, the brakes just started to fade a lot, and I had to try and slow down a bit to try and conserve them. So the car's working well, it's just the brakes is a bit of an issue right now.
I know a lot of teams have gone with an endurance brake package this weekend. You guys opted for a sprint package. Is that something that's making the problem happen?
Well, it's still a brand new car for us. It's the hardest track, I'd say, on brakes. So, you know, it's hard when there's such a limited track time and we haven't tested much to actually hit the exact combination. So it's hard to say, but it is what it is at the moment.
Brian?
The 58 been running so well. We talked about the Brumo squad and how you guys have really come alive here lately, David. Car looked really good. What kind of car did you hand over to Darren, and can he get it back up front?
Well, I certainly hope so. Seems like I was a little slow getting out, so I think that slowed our stop down a little bit. But it was really nice. The last couple laps, when I was alone, I thought I'd back out of a little bit. The car started getting a little loose, so I don't know if track conditions are changing. It seems like there's a lot of dirt getting on the track, and the hairpin, if you're offline, is pretty bad. But he's got a good car, and hopefully the brakes will stay under him, and we'll be all right to the end.
Well, we saw long runs at Barber really kind of wear on the machinery and the car got loose, but here today it's going to be a really long run as far as fuel goes. Everybody stopped earlier. You guys going to have enough fuel, especially if it stays along green?
Well, I don't even know if that's an issue, but yeah, I think we're ready to go. And my biggest concern is the brakes, because we're so hard on brakes, especially when you run nose to tail. Really hurts the airflow into the ducts, so we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. And we talked about brakes on GT cars, but David was just talking about, Dorsey, you and Calvin can add on it a little bit. You got to get that airflow to the car. You can't run tucked up underneath somebody for too long. It's not only engine temps, it's brake temps as well.
Well, understandably, Scott Pruitt gets the lion's share of the headlines in the 01 Ganassi car. How about Memo Rojas? Let's take you to a replay and show you this a lap ago down into turn one, and he puts the move on Antonio Garcia, a karting world champion and a Le Mans winner. Watch this. Watch the blue and white car.
Well, I'll tell you what, this all got jumboed up here, but this is a great move right here. Going up the inside, trying to make a pass, doesn't happen. Look, Rojas shoves it in there, Cal.
He really did. He braked and then he released the brakes and just dove down the inside. Garcia was thinking about taking the lead. Fogarty took advantage, Gurney took advantage through the chicane there, hopped over the curbs. That slowed everyone up, and then suddenly Rojas just pounced. He's got so much more confidence this year.
And all that brake ducting stuff that Brian was talking about, these guys don't care anything about right now. They're racing tough and they're tight.
All right, the reshuffle, the revised order is Alex Gurney, Memo Rojas, Antonio Garcia, Max Angelelli, Shane Lewis, but he is under increasing pressure from Darren Law, and then Mark Wilkins ahead of Ricardo Zonta. We'll be back. We're back and we're racing hard here in Montreal. Round 10 of this year's championship. But we're running out of rounds for the GT class, and I tell you what, that was a fantastic last stop for the 07. Paul Edwards, the championship leader, along with Kelly Collins, is chasing down Dirk Werner, the defending series champion.
It really was. They leapfrogged a handful of places there. Remember, Kelly Collins got turned around in that chicane in the early going, so he was in recovery mode to drop several spots. Right now, Paul Edwards all the way up to second. I have to wonder if maybe they did a two-tire change, but something got them out ahead of the pack there, Dors.
Yeah, and it hasn't been an easy weekend for these guys either, as Paul Edwards earlier on in the weekend had a spin and a crash in that car, so this team has been working hard too.
And how about the 57 Pontiac for Stevenson Motorsports, running strong in third? They were there at the end at Barber as well, but they're hoping for a better result, Brian.
Well, 2 wins on the season, 4 other podium finishes. Andrew Davis, that Pontiac right now, how's it running?
It's running pretty good. We're pretty happy. I didn't have anything on the straightaways for the Porsche or the Mazdas, so they kind of walked away from me, but we were happy with where we're at. We got a decent car. We're trying to save our brakes. The engine tip's a little hot here too, so we're trying to find some clean air.
And the big question that the guys up in the booth want to know is about fuel. They were questioning about Daytona prototypes, but what about GTs? Can you make it on fuel?
I'm afraid we can't. We're going to need another yellow, hopefully, and go ahead and do another fill. So we won't be able to make it right now.
Well, I expect to see the 57 back on pit road. They spent the reconnaissance laps bedding brakes, guys, because they needed to put a new brake package on, and bedding those brakes certainly used up some more fuel as they ran every reconnaissance lap they could.
It certainly does, but our thoughts right now need to go out to Mike Johnson, who runs this team. His sister Terrell, a 23-year-old, had a diving accident a couple of weeks ago and had some really bad neck injuries, and we're just wishing you the best love and hoping you get back on the road to recovery right now. But the battle up front intensifies as the 07 car really starts to put the pressure on. And here's that Mazda, the 40 car. Joe Foster now behind the wheel. Earlier it was driven by Pat Dempsey. Let's get down to Chris.
Patrick, not only for Hypersport, but also a new track for both you and Joe. How tough has the weekend been?
Well, it's been a lot of fun. A learning curve, so certainly the first day. Yesterday was very intense, getting used to the chicanes here. Everything is each one is very unique, and you have to get used to those characteristics. And then once you start to gather more experience, it's a really fun track. It's challenging. You really can't make a lot of mistakes. If you get really aggressive into those chicanes, you'll lose your lap. But the history of the track, certainly, it's been a great race. We've had a great weekend so far. I hope it continues. I've had a blast.
Your relationship with Joe first started as your instructor. Now, coming to a new track like this, what types of things does he work on when you win?
Yeah, really very specific goals each time we go out. The first session obviously was get used to the track, get familiar with it, then start building on it. We'll pull out the data, we'll do an overlay what he's running and what I'm running. And Speed Source has been very good with giving us their information as well. So you see what you need to work on, where you need to improve your braking. Certainly here into 1, and then getting a little braver going into 12 over here before the chicane. So you just start to build on that, you get your confidence up, and then you just start to let it hang out a little bit. In qualifying, I charged too hard, I think, and made a lot of mistakes, and then I just sort of backed off during the race and tried to stay consistent. And it's the first time I've been on the lead lap for my stint, so I was really happy.
Oh, he was really happy about that. Now let's just see if the teacher can work the car forward.
That was a great onboard shot there. You can really see Joe Foster really working that wheel, going over the curbs. It looked like a lot of fun.
And here, that's the 70 car that we're on. And Sylvain Tremblay is chasing down his team car right in front there. The white car, that's the 69. So it's all Mazda right now.
And the 69 are looking for a change in fortune, that's for sure. Remember that they won a race. They won the GT class at the 6 Hours of the Glen at Watkins Glen. But they've had a couple of horror runs since then. Consecutive 17th place finishes is not what the 69 car has been used to. So they're looking to turn things around. And this will be an easy move.
Oh, yeah?
Well,
will it? Wow.
I think so.
Jeff Siegel's a very aggressive young driver, very confident, and he's got his own race to run. He says, I know you guys are in the thick of a championship chase, but we want another win. We certainly want another podium. We're not going to give it away.
Not good for future employment, Jeff.
Look at Liddell starting to put the pressure on the 07. Which is the most dominant Pontiac car right now? Well, Liddell and the Stevenson group are certainly starting to question that.
They take a lot of pride in beating the Pratt & Miller cars, and that pressure is intensifying. Brian.
You talked about what a spectacular pit stop it was for the 07. I checked in, guys. It was an excellent one because they did take 4 tires and full fuel, as well as doing the driver change. So we've said it all race long, especially with one pit stop. The race is as much about pit lane as it is the racetrack.
Check this out. This is good stuff. Robin Liddell, who said at the end of the race at Barber, I gave it everything I had, but there were just mounting problems. He said some were mine, some weren't my fault. And he said, I just got swamped. He said it was one of the most intense finishes to a race I've ever experienced.
One problem he had, Lee, is he actually hit the pit lane speed limiter when he was out on the racetrack. That was how Dirk Werner got by him. And then he said simply, I made a mistake feeling the heat from Andy Lally and ran wide. So that was very disappointing to that team that had 5 consecutive podium finishes till Barber.
Debris all over that straightaway back there, guys. There was definitely parts of tires, so somebody's lost a tire out there. And I'm really surprised they haven't put out a caution to clean. Wow, look at these guys.
Ricardo Zonta heads this train. He's just got by Shane Lewis. Mark Wilkins is in the mix. Mark Goosens is there. Joey Hand, Joao Barbosa. The list goes on. Ian James also in the sole remaining Mike Shank Ford.
On board with the Goose. Mark Goosens, they finished second here last year, and he said, if I'd known it was the last lap, maybe I could have won. Full course caution from that debris, Dorsey. You called it.
Yeah, I kind of figured they had to do that. These tires, as all tires are susceptible. There's the 30 that lost the tire. Look at the damage to the back of the car as it shredded another tire.
Key here is going to be we may see some pit stops from the GT teams. They cannot go as far as the Daytona prototypes. So if they're going to see the checkered flag today without another stop, this may be a good opportunity for GT cars. Daytona prototypes, I think this yellow may help to get them in their window where they can make it to the checkered flag.
Peter Ludwig was the driver behind the wheel when that tire started shredding. And Peter was also the driver in this car involved in the accident yesterday that impacted the 61 and 99 cars. So he's been in a couple of hot spots this weekend, has Peter Ludwig.
He ran Daytona with the Farnbacher Lowell's team and also ran the Sun Chaser race, the Salt Lake City, the big enduro at the end of the season, the finale with TRG, and regularly runs in the Coney series with TRG as well. So a good sports car racer, resides in New York. Very excited about this opportunity to be in the Mazda this weekend.
Take a look at the back of the screen, and I think you're going to see what happened. There goes the right rear as it starts to shred. Now take a look at these Daytona prototypes and how low they are to the ground, and realize that when that piece of tire comes off, it won't fit underneath that car. So that means it's going to be thrown up in the air into somebody else's face. It's a dangerous situation. That's why this caution is out.
Some impressive evasive action from Matt Plum in the number 7 rumbum.com BMW to avoid that debris, the rubber that was spread all over the racetrack. Great crowd here in Montreal. Again, loving their motorsport. Quick reminder about the Monterey Historics, what an event this is. And I want to highlight a number there for you. 1-800-327-SAKER is the number to call, or you can log on to the MontereyHistorics.com website. The Monterey Historics, fabulous time, great days, August 15 through 17, and tickets again on that website, MontereyHistoric.com. Let's hear from some of the drivers who opened up today's race. Nick Johnson first up with Chris Neville.
Well, Lee, we know a lot of teams saying that this is the toughest track on brakes. The 10 car already having some issues. Nick, you guys went with an endurance setup on your pads. What is the difference between the endurance setup and the sprint setup?
Well, the brake power is not the same as on a short package, but we definitely thought that the brake's going to be very important there. So even in my first stint, I was really trying to take care of the tires. There was no point to kind of push too hard because they know they're going to be yellows. So hopefully we're going to be one of the cars that have the best brakes the last half an hour out there. We're going to go to the front. That's the goal.
Well, the car was so strong at Barber, much shorter straightaways, so we know the Lola's get a little bit more drag. Is it going to be strong at this track?
Yeah, I think we're going to be strong here as well. It's just a matter of, as you said, to be able to get off the corners, with power down and take care of your brakes. The brake's going to be the biggest issue the last half an hour of this race, and that's kind of what we're doing right now. Ricardo's pacing himself out there as well, trying to take care of the brakes as good as possible. And we should have a good car to go to the end there, I think.
Well, I know we were also concerned the teams would be able to make it on fuel or not. Just listening to all the teams are saying that this caution is going to give them the distance. Brian?
Well, we heard earlier from Scott Pruitt about the incident with the 99 car, and we heard his words about not being impressed with your driving ability, John, or the lack thereof, as he had to say. But that was an emotional view, I'm sure, from his cockpit. What happened, and what did you see from the seat of the 99?
Scott started to sound like a broken tape recorder, huh? Apparently Scott can do that to 23 at Mexico, and Memo can do it to the 10. And he can do it at 61 here, and, I guess we're not allowed to do that. I had a good run on him, and I got down on the inside, and I made my apex, so he just needed to leave me a little room. I understand having respect for your elders, but I think the series is taking it a little too far.
All right, you heard it, guys. We talked about no love lost. That's certainly the case down here.
I don't respect you, Dorsey.
I knew that was coming. Hey, let's try to get a hold of Paul Edwards and see. He had a great pit stop there. Let's see. Paul Edwards, Dorsey Schrader in the speed booth. You got us?
Copy that.
Paul Edwards, Dorsey in the speed booth. Can you copy?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, your guys gave you a great pit stop, moved you up quite a bit, and you're right there now.
Oh, yeah, they did an amazing job. I think we went from 8th to 2nd, just like normal with these guys. Everything's coming together. We got a great car. I think, we got to think a little bit about the championship as far as the 70 and the 57 being behind me. without taking too much risk of getting this 87 car. But I feel really confident in everything we got here, so we're going to give it our best shot.
Yeah, man, the 57's putting a lot of pressure on. I know you want to go battle with Dirk Warner more than have him in your taillights.
True, but when do you ever have it your way in racing?
That's a good point. Hey, we're with you, man. Good luck today.
Yeah, thanks, sir.
And it was Paul Edwards who put his hand up yesterday and said the crash was me, it was my fault. And he said I was simply trying to squeeze too much out of this Pontiac GXPR. He saw the pace of the Porsches and he wanted to try and match Dirk Werner. He said I wanted to see how much I could get out of this, and I just went a little too far. The back stepped out and I slapped the wall, and it caused the Banner boys some work. However, the story is having a positive outcome right now, but he will be pushed all the way by Robin Liddell, the Scottish driver in the 57, looking for his third win of the season. Now, if you've just joined us, let's take you back and show you what has gone on thus far. Let's talk Daytona prototypes here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and boy, it was an exciting start. Scott Pruitt on the pole, Brian Frisselle pressed him, and there was a collision in turn 2, and that forced Frisselle all the way back to 18th place, but what a comeback he made. Guy Cosmo and Ricky Taylor off track, and then these two boys, John Fogarty and Scott Pruitt, they were jousting on the track. They've been jousting verbally. That's how it ended. And then take a look at this for a close call. Bill Oberlin says, Patrick Dempsey, can you move on by? I'm coming through. I'm being chased by an angry Brian Frisselle. Great stop by the Ganassi boys. Brumos thought they may have been able to squeeze by, but Angelelli in the 10 had too much. And then John Fogarty, a great move on Antonio Garcia after the restart, after the driver changes, and something letting go here in dramatic style for Oswaldo Negri. The 3 Southern Motorsports Lexus, Shane Lewis enjoyed some time at the front, and then the 99 of Alex Gurney forced his way by. How about this for a great move? Came from a long way back, did Memo Rojas, to make that move on Antonio Garcia, and again, Shane Lewis was in the mix. There's been lots happening, boys, in Daytona prototypes. We're under our second full course yellow of the day here in Montreal. And many of the teams said that they needed this caution to happen. The 57 is in, and so too is the 70. Action in the GT land. Brian?
We'll have to see if they take tires as well. I think they will. It's kind of surprising. Thought they may be able to make the distance without changing tires. It'd be a much quicker stop if it was fuel only. So right now the fuel going in. Left front for sure, and left side tires on the 70. 07 already down and away, as is the 57. 70 still sitting here at their stop. Now they're gone. It's a race off pit road, and one that's lost to the 06 and the 57. 70's underway.
Guys, you know, I thought I saw the pace car out there with the lights off, indicating that they'd be going green this lap. So for these guys to take 4 tires, now they're going to have to really try to catch up to the base. If it goes green this time, I don't know if they can catch up that much.
I think there was a split strategy there too, Dorsey. I'm not sure all the GT front runners came in, Brian.
Now, just the 70 and the 57 came in, guys. It was the 06 that came in as well. The 70 took left side tires only. I did not see tires at all on the 57, fuel only. So right now, I guess they're thinking they needed those left side tires to help them off that hairpin and these other right-hand corners here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve to make sure that they could get that run on the final lap. Chris?
Well, it was Mazdas and Pontiacs in pit lane, but no Porsches. Kevin, can the Porsches make it?
It's going to be really close. I sure hope my fueler got his hose in all the way. We've been calculating it on the calculator, and literally we're down to within a minute. It's going to be a little bit of a Hail Mary, but I've been telling the guys on the radios, you know, coast it down on the straightaways, real easy on the pedal application, on the throttle. You know, we're in our fuel conservation map right now. It's going to be tight. I think we're going to make it.
Can you make it on green, or do you need another caution?
I think we're going to make it on green. I think we're going to make it. That's the chance we took.
Go for it, man.
Yeah, Kevin's best car, the 66 of Spencer Pumpelly, is currently 4th in class. We're coming to the green, end of our second full course caution. It's the 99 Gainsco Auto Insurance car at the front. Alex Gurney leads the field, but look at Memo Rojas. We saw him execute a brilliant pass on Garcia. Now he goes the outside into 1.
You know that's a long way around, Dorsey.
Yeah, you know that's not going to be just left open, that door.
Kept it clean there. I think if it was Fogarty and Pruitt, we'd have seen a bit more action.
So after that little rebuttal there.
Think how pumped the Chiva Racing team feel right now. Their man Antonio Garcia is running 3rd. This would be a huge result if that car could stay there.
Eddie Cheever is so impressed with this young man. He says he's one of the fastest drivers we've ever had in this car, and he makes decisions quickly. He's very decisive with the setup work as well. He doesn't say much, but what he says, you know exactly what he wants, and that's what a team likes.
Angelelli in the SunTrust Dallara is the next in the line from Darren Law in the Porsche-powered Riley for Brumos. And Matt Plum, the last car in shot there, playing catch-up, looking for a way through, trying to get past Ollie Gavin in the 75.
Ollie Gavin has seen action here before, but in the Formula One pace car. He drove that between 95 and 97. Of course, he ran in the 75 machine at the Daytona 24 Hours this year. He has tested this Lola at Daytona. Remember, they made the switch over to Riley before round one, and he also tested it at Barber a couple of weeks ago in the open test on the Monday following the last round of racing.
Those 3 years he drove the pace car here at Montreal, incidentally. Michael Schumacher won 2 of them. Mika Hakkinen won the other one. He said, I can say I kind of led a race at Montreal. Just joking, of course.
Well, guys, you know, because of the short distance of the race, 46 minutes ago, they're in full sprint mode now. I mean, you have to be aggressive from this point forward, don't you?
Speaking of aggressive, Mark Wilkins puts the move on Ricardo Zonta, or does he? Zonta has the better line into one. Talk about Formula One experience here. That's what Ricardo has.
I think this is going to get pretty good here.
There's going to be some action here throughout the rest of this race. Zonta very late on the brakes. The car is very good on braking, but remember, Nick Johnson said they're on the Enduro package. It shouldn't have the bite that the sprint package would have. The Motorsports team, sorry, Dawes.
Yeah,
work with PFC with their brake package. I was very happy with the feel that they have there.
It won't wear the brake out, Calvin, but it doesn't give as good a stopping power. But, you know, toward the end of the race, it might actually equalize. We've only had these 2 cautions, and both of those were debris from tires that have come apart off GT cars.
This is a very positive run, not only for the 58, but also the car ahead, the 10 of Max Angelelli. That team need a boost. They need a good result. Frustration overload this year. It could happen here today. The 1-year anniversary of their last victory. This is what it looks like if you're Mark Goossens up ahead. The race is on between Mark Wilkins and Ricardo Zonta. It's almost like a replay of the lap before. Different part of the track, however, and Wilkins has made the move stick.
How cool was that? Think about this. Mark Wilkins and his experience level, comparing that to Ricardo Zonta, who raced here 3 times in Grand Prix cars, Dorsey.
This AIM team, though, they really had the bit between their teeth. They had that sniff of victory just last week, and then that engine failure with 10 laps to go. I mean, everybody in that team was just devastated, but they're not giving up.
And we spare a thought for Ian Willis, one of the team principals who lost his mother recently. Ian, our thoughts are with you, and a speedy return to the track, mate. Let's hope your boys can bring home a solid result today.
Paul Edwards now trying to hound Dirk Werner. We watched Dirk Werner in the opening moments of practice. He was sensational down in that first chicane, 2 seconds faster than the rest of the field for the first 30 minutes of practice. This is 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Spencer Pumpelly, followed by Jeff Segal, and then Lee Keane took over from his teammate who put that 86 car on the pole. Eric Lux, and he really starting to gel. Had that great win in the rain at Mid-Ohio. But Pumpelly, great to see the TRG boys back at the front of the pack.
Well, they will not have liked seeing the Farnbacher Lowell's cars 1-2. There's a fierce Porsche rivalry that goes on there between those 2 organizations.
Back behind there, guys, the 3 car not running well. That's just other motorsports car. I think Bill Lester behind the wheel. Listen to it. I detect an engine problem. Sounds really flat. Plus, he's not able to pass his...
Oh! Keane almost nailed Jeff Siegel. That was close. Right in the very corner where mayhem broke loose on the final lap a year ago in the GT class.
Oh, here we see some action. Angelelli down there. Darren Law.
But there was a yellow flag waving, so no passes could be done. I don't know what the yellow was for, but there was a corner worker in that corner waving a yellow.
Look at Mark Wilkins. He has some speed. These boys looking for their first podium, nearly got their first win at Barber. Oh, cruel there that engine broke on them.
There is a Porsche in the mix there, staying well out of the way of this angry bunch. Let's get to the pits. Let's go to the AIM camp.
Ryan Frisselle watching the action on the screen here. Great drive at Barber and another great qualifying run here. You surprised by the amount of aggressiveness that Scott Pruitt showed to you down at turn 1 at the start?
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised like that. I guess next time it gets close, I won't give him any room either. But, you know, it's racing. That stuff happens. It's unfortunate because we have a really good car. We have the second fastest lap of the race right now. The Ford guys have done an unbelievable job all year for us. And, you know, we've had some extra support here from Telus, the Mike group, and we just wanted a good result. I think we can still get it. Mark's running fast. He just passed a few guys. We're going to get it.
As they said, they want a good result, both for this team and for Ian Willis, as you pointed out, Lee. Let's head down to Chris.
Well, Brian, the Ruby Tuesday car running up in the top 10 right now. Bill, during your stint, you got pushed into the wall a little bit. Is the car okay?
The car's fine. I mean, it's like a brick house. That thing is tough. Gotta say, Ruby Tuesday, thanks for putting us out here. Get to that restaurant. Support this car. I need some new body work because I knocked some noses off. And Alex, we miss you. Joey's in the car now. We have a really good car. We're just sort of stuck a few spots back, and we got to make it up.
As tight and twisty as this racetrack is, how hard is it going to be for Joey to move forward?
You know, I raced against quite a few guys. I passed quite a few guys. Most of them are really nice. I got up to Fittipaldi, and the guy's like a disaster. He's like a roaming disaster. His way of fighting you off is just by driving you off, and I'm kind of over it. So we're gonna have to see how things go from here.
Obviously, some harsh words there from Bill Oberlin.
What's going on today? The boys have taken their angry pills.
Joey Hand is there. You know, you're talking about Bill Oberlin doing body work. Joey Hand needs some body work. He is the most aggressive driver out there right now. I mean, Calvin, he did a side check on Goose and sent him to the back, and he's trying to do the same thing now.
He is really aggressive, and he always prides himself on being the last of the late breakers, and he's going to use everything that Ruby Tuesday car will give him. We saw him make a move a lap ago on Goosens, then we saw Goosens go through the dirt the following lap, so they're struggling a little bit. But Mark Wilkins again impressing in that 61 machine as he now looks ahead to the 58 car that's putting the pressure on Angelelli.
Here's your rundown. Alex Gurney is your race leader. Less than a second between he and Memo Rojas in the 01 Telmex Ganassi car. Then Garcia, then Angelelli, then this car here of Darren Law. Then Mark Wilkins, Ricardo Zonta, and Joey Hand. Top 8 sits that way. In GT, it's still Werner, Edwards, and Pumpelli inside. Whoa, that was close.
Oh, he really had to get on the brakes late. Nearly tagged Darren Law there through that chicane. He was thinking about it. Darren wouldn't let him have it. And you see the gap that immediately it creates, Dorsey. When you don't make the move stick, you lose the best part of a second.
You know, unfortunately, this racetrack it rewards that kind of driving. It's not easy to pass here. You got to really do what we see being done, which is put your nose in there and go slam it in if you have to. All the curb usage, and look at here where Goosens came through the middle of the dirt before. It's a real dirty racetrack.
See the nose there, a little adrift, and problems for the 91 as well.
That's probably from that off-course excursion. I saw that dirt there.
Clearing out the radiators. The Goose will go back to work.
Let's take you back and show you what happened to Mark Goosens. A little bit of push and shove and some hard driving further back in the field.
Mismatched the downshift.
Yeah, he did. You could hear it there. Once he got the clutch up, also essentially gone into gear and just locked up those rear wheels and got him sideways for a little bit.
Inside, look at this, the 58 of Darren Law.
Oh, and they're rubbing coming off the corner, Cal.
He learned that from Scott Pruitt last week.
It's not.
Drew a little hip check.
Now it's over, so Law moves into the top 4. It's a drag race down to the chicane. What's the Dallara got on the Riley? Head to head, and Mark Wilkins wants to buy in on this on the inside. Oh, look at this. Now he has to relinquish. Angelelli gets the position back.
But how long is it going to be staying like that? Watch this. It's going to move to the inside
Watch
now.
Joey Hand behind Zonta there.
Back of the pack, the Ruby Tuesday Riley. Hand wants to buy into this as well. And he does. Gets by Ricardo Zonta. Tell us more about Zonta, Chris.
Well, just as that was happening, and Cal was saying, Joey Hand prides himself on being the king of the late breakers. Also, Jeff Hazel down at Krohn Racing is saying that Ricardo Zonta is amazing on brakes. He says, I haven't seen really anything on our data that just impresses me more than what Zonta can do on brakes, obviously from his Formula One experience, but it looks like Joey Hand taking it to Zonta. And one other thing Jeff Hazel was saying was, it's amazing how late he can go in the brake zone, and he really doesn't have that bad of brake wear.
Well, Angelelli really stepped to the plate there, I'll tell you that. He really had a good fight on his hands.
It was good.
Well, I think the strategy that the Chrome boys went with in that Enduro package may be hurting them a little bit, but maybe it'll come back to them. 37 minutes to run. These boys keep running hard. Maybe brake wear and temperature, more importantly, will be a factor here in the last few laps.
They fight. Darren Law sets up a move into the hairpin, thinks again about it twice.
But he gets to run. Look here, alongside again.
This is what he did on the previous lap.
It's the wrong side to make the pass on, though, Cal.
Remember, it looked like the Dallara had a little bit more straightaway speed than the 58 machine last time through. So you would think that Valiente will be able to hold him off there and have a cushion down in the brake zone again.
Wilkins has another look on Darren Law and Max Angelelli, who sits in that 4th place. Garcia, Rojas, and Gurney are the top 3. Does Darren Law have something to work on down into turn 1? Is he close enough? No. Oh, Angelelli has made a mistake.
He locked up a rear there, immediately went wide. There's that pavement there you can use, then he's in the grass. Dorsey wills on to take advantage.
And he's going to lose 4 positions. At least he's lost 3 already.
Was it a brake issue or was it driver error? We'll find out later.
He was feeling it, that's for sure. You see all the dirt there from where Goosens went off, but it's essentially offline now.
Let's go straight to the SunTrust cam. Chris?
Well, guys, we know Valiente told us earlier brake problems with the 10 car. Is that why Max is struggling on the track right now, Wayne?
Yeah, it seems like it. We got some sort of issue going on with the brakes. Michael complained, you know, his whole stint, and Max just looks like he ran out of brakes into turn 1. So not sure why. We have to see what happens for the next couple of laps.
Well, the SunTrust boys starting to struggle today. But Cal, I checked in with the Ruby Tuesday car for you on whether they were running the sprint package or the endurance package. Bill Auberland said they are on the endurance package.
Wow, that's very impressive then. And here you see Joey Hand putting the pressure on Wilkins there, coming off the hairpin.
Porsche powered versus Ford power. Both Riley chassis cars side by side. Joey Hand and Mark Wilkins.
He has the inside line, Dorsey. I'm sure he's going to push his way through here.
Yeah, there's no way he's going to outbrake him. Wilkins knows it. He's got to give it to him. He does.
Great move by Joey Hand. They've been licking their lips at the thought of running at the front of the pack again, and suddenly they are a factor.
Joey Hand all of a sudden finds himself in the top 5 in this motor race, some 8 seconds behind race leader Alex Gurney.
The Rolex Series returns to action at historic Watkins Glen International. 2 months ago, Scott Pruitt put in a dynamic performance for Ganassi Racing in the 6-hour event. This time, it'll be Daytona prototypes only in a 2-hour sprint. Coverage begins next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, we've got drama here in the hairpin involving GT cars. One was the Salem Corvette and the Auto House Pontiac. Terry Borchella in the 72. Now look at this. What's going on here with the 99? Dramas for Gurney. Oh, he was involved in the accident. We're getting a report. He was involved in the accident up at turn 10. The race leader. This will tell us more.
Oh, Borchella locks it up down to the inside. You see the red machine. Clips the 42. Gurney's got nowhere to go. Oh. He gets clouded by the 06.
Oh, man, what a stack up that was.
Meanwhile, Rojas, Garcia slide through on the inside.
That was a big hit, too, that car just chucked. 99, I mean, he just got T-boned by that Pontiac, one of the Banner Racing. A lot of damage to the left front here, whole front end, actually, Cal.
Terry was way down the inside, Dorsey, and it's very dirty down there. Don't know why he was quite so shallow to that corner.
Is that door ajar?
Well, it got hit right in the side, Lee. I mean, it got hit really hard. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it's got major damage there.
Ron Fellows in the 06 that contacted the 99 from that left-hand side. Brian, do you have more about the 72?
Well, extensive damage on it, but remember, guys, I was talking about brakes. We've all talked about brakes all day long, and one of the things that this team did was change to a different brake package because they weren't getting the stopping that they needed or wanted. So perhaps Borchella down on the inside just looking for a longer run to try to slow this Pontiac GXP-R down, because right now brakes are a big issue. I just spoke to David Donahue on the 58, and he said Darren Law is going to have to conserve right now this racetrack is just brutal on the brake package.
The Auto House crew go to work here on Terry Borchella's Pontiac.
It's major damage, though. I mean, what he's talking about, Brian was talking about going shallow for a corner. When you get in brake trouble for a corner as you're approaching a corner, you tend to, as soon as you realize that the brake pedal dropped down, you tend to turn in and go shallow like that, Cal.
Yeah. Terry's got so much experience. He was trying to do the right thing, and he realized that the leader of the race, the DP leader, was right there to his outside, to his flank. Just tried to keep it clean, but here we see, I think I misspoke earlier, maybe I said the 10 car was Valiente, as Angelelli, of course, behind the wheel, now feeling the pressure on the 59 machine. What a performance they've had this year. Joao Barbosa and JC France, the Brumos team really starting to gel. They've now actually linked the two pit cars between the 58 and the 59 to share information a little bit more, and Joao has really had a great effect not only on this 59 machine, but also the 58 this year, I feel.
Joao has one of the fastest laps of the race, putting the pressure on Angelelli. This is the battle for 8th. How about the 99? They must be saying, what next? What else can happen to us? After leading at Barber Motorsports Park, the clutch lets go, then they get tangled up, not even in their own accident, here while leading as well.
Well, if there is a good news to that whole deal is that he got hit in the side quite hard, but there's no damage on the side that's going to keep the car from being competitive. As long as the bodywork stays on like it is right now, Calvin, that car probably isn't hurt fundamentally.
Yeah, it took him a lot because there was a couple of cars immediately went through, and then he lost a lot more ground, obviously, down to 7th place right now. So Alex will be feeling the car out and just seeing how it feels. More on the 99. Let's go to Brian.
Well, Bob Stallings, you're a nice guy. I don't know what you've done to deserve this. I mean, you haven't run over any little kitty cats or anything like that, have you?
At least not that I'm aware of. It's been an unbelievable year. As much as last year was a Cinderella year for us, I mean, this year has just been a nightmare. It just seems like we cannot catch a break no matter what happens.
4 races to go in this season, and I know that the championship seems far removed right now, but you guys aren't going to quit in these last 4 rounds, I don't believe.
No, heck no. We come to every race to win, and we intend to win every race we get to, and we just hope that our luck's going to change.
Well, right now, this team, if it weren't for bad luck, they'd have no luck at all, Lee.
I know, you have to feel for them. It's been a tough break. Let's show you the replay again. Up in the hairpin, and the accident that took this car out of the race lead.
I think Terry Borchella knows he's in trouble there. You see him trying to get in without hitting. He gets in Salem's car. Ron Fellows nowhere to go, gets into the Gainesco car. Major damage. The good news for Gainesco, like I said, Calvin, is if you saw it again, he got hit right in the door. You see it right there, and he didn't get in either the front or rear suspension area.
Yeah, it could be a break, but what a tough, I mean, the scenario they got into there, you just can't believe it. I mean, Gurney, what an impressive job. I mean, this is a racetrack that none of these boys have a lot of experience in. So to come here with only a couple of laps under your belt this weekend and immediately take the car to the front of the pack is very impressive by Alex Gurney. And then he suffers that blow there. So he'll try and fight back, but right now he's got a long road ahead of him, currently running in 7th.
And of course, the reason he didn't get any laps was because of that crash that we showed at the beginning of the show in practice session. As we watch the leader now, that was the pole sitter in GT getting passed by the overall leader right now.
And look at Antonio Garcia. He is not letting Rojas get away. The Pontiac-powered Coyote. Eddie Cheever was telling us today, of course, he loved his career as a race driver, moved on, transitioned to team owner. Now he's a manufacturer and thoroughly enjoying developing, enhancing, and improving this Coyote.
And Darren Law, once again, guys, is coming into his own as this green flag thing goes longer. This Brumos car gets faster as it goes green.
Can the Coyote in 2nd place, can Garcia hang on? Do you know he used to race against Fernando Alonso in go-karts and beat him? And Alonso won here on this very circuit. Can Garcia share the same joy? We'll find out. More on the 16. Here's Chris.
Lee, you're talking about improvements to the 16 throughout the year. The 09 and the 16 look a lot alike. They're both Coyotes, but the 16 is one evolution further down the road than the 09 car. A little bit less draggy, a little bit more downforce. So that car working a little bit better than the 09, and a little bit later this year they're going to make some more bits for the car, so it's going to be a 3rd evolution of that car. So Eddie Cheever really proud of what this team is doing, and that car running up near the front now.
Yeah, and they're trying out some new suspension pieces within the next few weeks. They really feel that they're not maximizing the grip that the Pirelli tires give them. There you see Rojas at the front of the pack. Change of strategy. They said Rojas has deserved the opportunity to close it out. And right now he's done a tremendous job at the front of this pack.
That move was unbelievable. That pass that he put on Garcia down into one was fantastic. And he has really matured, really come of age this year, Memo Rojas. Leads the race. Woo!
That was close.
Slips her on the inside of Dirk Werner.
Yeah, I thought he was going to lock up the brakes and go straight on there, but he gathered up really well. You're right about one thing with Memo Rojas from last year to this year. What a huge difference.
I think the question is going to be, guys, does the 01 have enough fuel? I just heard Timmy Keene on the radio saying, Memo, we're going to go to 1 on the straightaways and 2 every time we get to the chicane. So right now they're going back and forth on fuel mixture, trying to conserve fuel. It's been a lot more green here today than we had expected.
And Brian, the thing there is, you remember that the 16 came in again and topped up, so you know that they're good on fuel to go hard with the 01.
You know, if I'm Memo, what I'm saying, I'm going, Tim, you're telling me I got to change the mixture settings twice a lap? Do you look in my rearview mirror at all? I'm kind of busy. I mean, there's a lot for a driver to do, but to keep switching your mixture twice a lap is going to be just one more thing to distract you while you're trying to get a race.
Darren Law coming in here.
And that's what I talk about, Calvin. This car, this Brimo's car, under long green flag runs, gets to be stronger every lap.
And Joey Hand's not done with either. Look at the Ruby Tuesday car coming on in 4th. This will be their best result if they can stay there since Homestead way back at the 2nd round. And if the Chiva car can stay where it is, it'll be a best in their Grand-Am history. Of grey for the generation that swore it would never get old. This certainly isn't getting old. Look at this, they're mixing it up. Darren Law has got by Antonio Garcia for 2nd, and Joey Hand is mixing in this group as well.
Joey Hand is flying, but Darren Law, that car has been so solid. Darren Law yet to score a Daytona prototype victory. Looking for his first, and Brumo's first since 2003.
Garcia looking for a way by. He's not letting Darren Law get away.
Look at Joey right there. Garcia gets loose coming off the corner.
Rojas better look in the rearview mirror. These guys are coming, and they want a piece of the back of that car now.
3 Rileys and a Coyote. Around the outside goes Joey Hand. It's the wrong spot, but it might put him in a good place for turn 2. How about that? Set him up through 1 going into 2. Joey Hand moves into 3rd.
Gutsy, great move right there. Joey Hand stuck it out.
That was the move of the season in my book. That was sensational stuff by Joey.
And look at the front end of the 23. The Ruby Tuesday car has been knocked askew. Joey's going to knock the body off it if he needs to, but he's going to get to the front.
Remember the pre-season before they had determined the lineup for this car. Back in November last year at the test at Daytona, Alex Job was being bombarded by drivers with their CV saying, hire me, I've got better credentials. He ended up going for the All-American lineup of Billy Orblin and Joey Hand, and right now he'd be loving that choice.
And he said he's never had a driver pairing with the same chemistry as these two boys. He said they're one and the same. They love the same setup. They talk the same language.
Let's hear what his teammate thinks. Billy Orblin.
Well, Billy Orblin down here watching our pictures. Billy, we see that nose flapping around. It looks like that left front clip is loose. How much concern?
No, I ran the whole stint with the clip loose, but that's the tape we stuck on that's flying off. I think it should be fine, except if we do a few more hits. Joey's the man right now. Alex, we wish you were here. Everybody go to Ruby Tuesday and get that salad bar. Holy cow.
Brian.
Well, Terry Borcheller had that problem early on, and Terry Borcheller is a lot of things, including a very fast race car driver. He's also honest. Tell me what happened out there, Terry.
It's 100% my fault. We had a earlier incident that took the driver's side mirror off, and I didn't see Alex in the 99 car. And when I did see him, it surprised me, and I moved over, and I was too far to the right and too late into the brake zone, and just made a mistake. And I feel bad for the Corvette team and for our team. I mean, Autohouse has been working so hard to get this car to try to run up towards the front, and I think we had a pretty good car, and I didn't hear what happened with Tim in the first stint, but he got hit or hit someone and had a problem with the left front, and so it's a frustrating day, but it happens. It's part of racing. I feel bad for Nathan and all the guys.
You heard him, a frustrating day, but like I said, Terry Borcheller's a lot of things, a champion included, and also very honest.
The Autohouse team will bounce back. Spare a thought for Memo Rojas, the race leader. Would you like to be him right now with Darren Law and Joey Hand breathing down on you with 21 minutes to go? both looking for a win in this 2008 season. Laura's as close as he's ever been.
Wow, Darren there really putting the pressure on.
It's
Look at
opened up
Joey Hand, slice to the inside.
That's the move he put on Wilkins several laps ago.
Well, he had to, because you see what happened right there when he tried to make the pass. Darren Law got stuck to the outside, wrong side. And you can't do that with Joey Hand being this aggressive. He's going to drive up. Anywhere you give him a hole, he'll take it.
Rojas takes the inside line. Remember the 23 car, Porsche power, just like the Brumos car.
Lexus, Porsche. All three are Riley chassis cars. This is the Coyote. Then we get back to the Ford-powered Riley of Mark Wilkins. Brian.
Every lap on the radio, they're telling Memo Rojas, go to position 2, position 2. Oh, and protect your position. How'd you like to be in that seat, guys?
Oh, well, I don't want it anymore. When you're trying to defend the lead and save fuel, Dorsey, with this pack right behind you, that's not a pretty sight.
You see Joey Hand running up over the curve, got all 4 wheels up in the air up there a minute ago.
20 minutes to go in this race. They're coming up on what will be a lapped car of Mark Goossens. After a trouble earlier, we saw that replay when he ran across the grass, leaves the lane open for these boys to get through.
That's a nice job right there by the Goose to let the boys have their race.
He's been in the mix plenty of times. He knows what it's like to be at the front. Have a look at this. Spencer Pumpelly has got by Paul Edwards for second place. Great comeback drive from the TRG Porsche.
Look at Jeff Segal. We talked about him not giving up that position to the 70 machine earlier in this race. He's got his sights on a victory here today still.
Class leader is still Dirk Werner for Farnbacher Lols in the Porsche. There he is, just a corner up ahead of Spencer Pumpelly. Can Spence bridge the gap? It's now Porsche 1-2.
Boy, I tell you what, 19 minutes to go. Can you think it could go without another caution? I don't think so. All these guys driving as hard as they are, I almost have to believe somebody's going to make a mistake driving this hard.
58, just popping his nose out there is Darren Law, having a look at Memo Rojas. They're starting to bunch up. Garcia is joining this trio.
Thinking about that GT battle as well. Remember, those guys running at the front didn't take extra fuel stops like Sylvain Tremblay, but here comes Donoghue. Looks to the inside. Rojas down the inside. Can Donoghue do what Joey Hand did?
Darren Law has done it. Darren Law has muscled his way through. You saw the fire in his eyes pre-race interview. He said he wanted to get the win. He means business.
He said, I've seen this done before. By golly, I'm going to do it this time too. Get ready for a smack.
And in a matter of 3 corners, Memo Rojas has gone from 1st to 4th.
Mark Wilkins joins the fray as well, right there in 5th. Joey Hand thinking about that victory right now. He can smell it.
Now Darren Law's got a problem called Joey Hand.
Wow. That was business.
Now what we'll see, guys, is if in fact Darren Law is quick enough to outrun this pack. I mean, now that he's got the clear wind on the front of the car, he's got full downforce. We'll see if he can pull away, but Joey Hand's not going to let that happen if he can help it.
2 Porsche-powered Rileys at the front of this field.
23 car, debuted this Riley in the last round at Barber, and most importantly, they got a full test day on that Monday. They learned a lot about their chassis, ran times that would have put them on the front row there, felt very confident coming in this weekend, but then had a devastating engine blow yesterday morning and lost all their track time to learn what they needed, but went out in qualifying and surprised everyone with a top 5 starting slot.
Let's go down to the Ganassi squad. Let's hear from the team manager, Tim Keane.
Timmy Keane really busy right now talking to Memo Rojas on the radio. Tim, been listening to you guys a little bit. I know you've been changing fuel maps back and forth. Does he have the fuel to make it to the end?
Well, it's going to be really close. I mean, if we could run full rich, we would. Some laps he gets good mileage, other laps he doesn't. So, I mean, I think we're all in the same boat. We just got past there. 58 got position on us. You know, I really wanted Memo to be able to have a chance to win today. And, you know, it's not over yet. Maybe those guys will run out of fuel and we won't. You know, we'll make it right now, but
it's going to be tight, guys. Like we said, they've been moving back and forth maps from lap to lap, corner to corner.
And it's tough from a driver's perspective, Dorsey. It distracts you rather than just running your race. When you're thinking fuel mileage, where can I save? You don't just run flat out and think about the competition. You've got a whole other scenario going on.
And that's what I was talking about before with somebody in your ear saying, switch to the mixture, switch to mixture. It's a distraction to you. You're trying to do 100% concentration right now because that's what it's going to take to beat this trio of cars.
And that's all about the learning curve that the Ganassi team are trying to put Rojas through. Pruitt could probably deal with that scenario a little bit better. He has the experience, and that's not being, you know, critical of Rojas. Is just a lot for him to take in at this stage of his career.
Fastest lap of the race belongs to Mark Wilkins in the 61 car. But how tight is it? They're running 134s, 134.2, 134.3. The fastest laps are separated by just tenths of a second. One of the new shows on Speed in 2008, it's Wrecked. You can ride shotgun with the crew who cleans up the ugly mess left behind by Chicago motorists. If you've seen the show, you know it's all about life in the crash lane. Wrecked, Thursday at 10. There's been a few wrecks here today, that's for sure. In both Daytona Prototypes and GT, we welcome you back to Speed's coverage of Grand-Am Rolex Sports Car Series racing at the legendary circuit Gilles Villeneuve. We have a mighty battle at the front for the lead and for the win of this race. Darren Law for Brumos fighting off Joey Hand for Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing.
Neither one of these cars have the latest Riley bodywork. The 23 machine was the 47 that we've seen in the last couple of years. They took this car over, essentially leased it for the rest of the year. Here comes Joey Hand, late on the brakes. Look at that car dart around.
Neither of these cars or teams have won in a long time, and they are hungry.
And nor have the Farnbacher Lowes boys as far as the 87 car is concerned. Let's hear from one of its drivers.
Well, there's a little bit more distance between first and second back in GT, but Bryce Miller watching his teammate lead this race. Bryce, we saw the 57 and the 70 come in for fuel after everybody else. Can you guys make the distance?
It's going to be a really close one for sure. We've taken a gamble, and you know, Dirk hasn't been talking very much on the radio, and the lap times are a little bit sporadic, so I can only imagine maybe he's picking a couple corners each lap to try to roll the car through as much as possible and conserve, and then he'll pull a lap out again. So we'll see, but we're really hoping for a yellow at the moment.
Well, this championship team hoping to get back to their winning ways.
They really are. 2 consecutive second place finishes. Second here last year, Rojas is off. Here comes Gurney.
And here comes Zonta in the 76. Has an inside position here on the 99 and makes it stick.
And he's trying for one more. He's going to go around the outside.
This is getting ugly, boys.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh, I don't know how they made that.
It's getting ugly.
Yeah, this is how heated stuff. There's going to be some mad people before the night's over.
Zonta there was trying the impossible. I don't know how you can expect to get through around the outside there, Dorsey, and keep it clean.
Well, you couldn't.
Well, the bit between his teeth, that's what Jeff Hazel loves. Says this guy is sensational, and that's what you want. You want the confidence from the team. You really feel that as a driver, and that makes you perform.
Ricciardo had 2 points finishes here in Formula One Grand Prix racing, and he's taking another shot at the Mexican. Zonta on Rojas. Up to the hairpin, Rojas has the position. He's got the inside run.
Oh, now side by side off the corner. Oh, big power slide off Zonta's car.
No traction control, remember, so it's all down to the right foot of the driver, and Zonta just wanted to squeeze that gas pedal a little too soon. Loses traction, loses time.
This is for 5th. Mark Wilkins has forced his way through. He's running in 4th, so it's Law, Hand, Garcia and Wilkins, the top 4, and now Zonta on Rojas. He's lost time through the chicane. That'll give Alex Gurney a run. Let's take you back and show you what happened. Down into turn 1 a lap ago.
Yeah, he was feeling it from the 61 machine. Took a really shallow angle late on the brakes. You have to wonder about this brake situation. Is that being a factor with Rojas as well?
Oh, no. Now they've made contact, the 99 and 76.
Dorsey said it was going to get ugly, and it has.
Well, also, these guys have raced so hard, so long. Brakes could be an issue right now. They could be losing brakes, but yeah, it's getting ugly now. People are getting heated. They're getting mad at one another, and they're being told on the radio, come on, man, get him. Be aggressive. We need the position.
Well, without seeing the replay, we realized that Gurney had the inside line down at the inside. Did Zonta try and retaliate immediately? Let's take a look.
You know, we'll know here in a minute.
There he is.
That was just really late.
Never going to happen.
That'll probably draw, for sure, a avoidable contact, I would think. Take a look at it now, a little bit better angle from above. Yeah, no way that's going to stick.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Gurney is a gentleman, but I tell you right now, he'll be absolutely fuming inside that race car.
And the 76 is going to get the penalty I said he would. Stop and go penalty for avoidable contact. He just took him out, period.
Understandably so. Just to update you in GT, you remember the charge from Spencer Pumpelly? He is 3 seconds behind Dirk Werner with 11.5 minutes to go.
Fuel will be the key there. Kevin Buckler said he was rolling the dice. We should be good. We heard what Bryce Miller said about his teammate. He's trying to save fuel as best he can.
And last time around, they lapped identically. 1:42.4 for Werner and Pumpelly. Let's find out from the Krone camp about what they think about Zonda's move. Chris?
Well, we just saw Zonda come by in pit lane here. Jeff, you've had a chance to see that replay. Your thoughts on it?
Well, I didn't hear your question, but basically when they see Ricciardo coming, they just want to look in their mirrors and move over.
Well, it looks like he's standing behind his driver, guys.
I think he's in the wrong series for that.
Well.
Back up front, life is made a little easier for Darren Law. There's some space now between he and Joey Hand. Not much, about 8 or 9 tenths of a second.
Now, one thing you can do in this series, Calvin, you can back me up on this. You can do side-by-side slamming into each other and pushing each other, but you can't go and just take some guy around by hitting him in the rear. They won't allow it.
Yeah, I mean, Ricciardo didn't get off the previous chicane very well, and Alex had the inside line and had the corner, so, you know, he's just got really aggressive in these last few laps. I mean, 10 minutes to go. He realizes it's now or never in terms of getting the result they're looking for, but you can't just do things like that. I mean, I think it was totally over the line there. '58 car continues to lead, got a nice little cushion there. That means he can run his own line. He's not having to defend Dorsey. Those few car lengths makes the world of difference.
And he's got more car under him, I think, right now, too, Kevin. Look at the 58. He's got through all this without too much damage, whereas the 23 is really a little bit more tore up.
Well, think about what the Brumos team have told us here this weekend. We're now starting to get to grips with this Riley chassis. We've had it for a year. Alex Job have had this car for 2 weeks. So what Joey Hand and company are doing here today is quite remarkable.
Yeah, very good point.
And Joey only had about 5 laps in the car before today's race, here at Montreal, that is.
Think of the emotion, though, between these two guys. I mean, the 58 team wanting that win so desperately, so badly, and been so close, even last week.
Joey Hand just driving the wheels off that thing. That thing is all over the road. Asking her for everything.
Let's talk more about Brumos. Brian, go for it.
Well, the question for all the Daytona prototypes, especially those up front, is fuel. I just spoke with the Brumos team, and they gave me a wry smile and just said, well, now we're all in the same boat now, aren't we? So everybody did come in and fill on that last stop, so they're right. Everybody's in the same boat. How much fuel has the engine burned, and how much has the driver conserved? Chris?
Well, Brian, same situation down with the 23. The word from the team to Joey Hand right now. Hey, you got to lean it out and also shift on that first shift light. So when the lights come on, don't take it all the way up in the RPM. Shift a little bit early. We got to save some fuel, buddy.
And remember, think about Darren Law. We talk so often about Brumos, and it's been 5 years since they enjoyed victory in the Grand-Am Rolex Sports Car Series. Darren Law is a former series champion, but he has never won a race in Daytona prototype competition. Could it be his day? We're back in Montreal for the closing stages of the Montreal 200 Grand-Am Rolex Series competition here on speed. And as the race leader weaves through traffic, gets by the 67, the TRG Porsche, that was closer. Now Joey Hand is right with Darren Law.
Joey Hand is so hungry, and it's not just for those crab cakes today, boys. We know we're going to hear all about it if he gets on this podium and, in fact, gets this win, but he wants it badly. I mean, it's been a tough season for him and Bill Oberlin.
You see him pass the 4th place in GT car, and how loose the GT car got. Those guys are on the edge, too.
You heard Paul Edwards say when you were talking to him on the radio, Dorse, that we're not going to get caught up too much in positions. We're looking at championship points, and the car closest to them is behind them in this race. So as far as championship points are concerned, that suits them fine.
More importantly, the car behind them, the 70 car, has more fuel on board. They stopped a lot later than the 07, so that'll be a factor with these GT cars that didn't stop.
Well, that last skirmish really helped Darren Law quite a bit. He opened up over Joey Hand, the most we've seen in quite a long time.
There goes Spencer Pumpelly in the 66, currently 2nd in GT.
First 7 cars on the road in GT, last stopped on lap 23. Rob Liddell, Sylvain Tremblay stopped on lap 36. They have a lot more fuel on board.
Could that be the difference, Brian?
Just listening to the banner team on the radio as well, asking Paul Edwards, what is your fuel used on the systems that they have in the car? On the dashboard, it will give them fuel burn. 19.6 on the last lap is how much had been burned. That tank doesn't hold too much. And with 7 laps to go, the 07 beginning to wonder, will they have the fuel to make it to the end as well?
Now it's Joao Barbosa trying to take the 5th position away from Memo Rojas under a lot of battle right there. We know Rojas is running the car real lean right now.
And Barbosa's been putting in some blistering lap times, a 1:34.1, his best time. Chris, what have you got?
Well, also lots of concern about fuel down here with the Ruby Tuesday group telling Joey Hand right now, go to fuel reserve, go to fuel reserve. We got a little bit less than 6 minutes left, so can they run this thing on fumes for 6 more minutes?
Well, you remember how close they were when they won at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca last year. They won that one on fumes.
But fuel reserve usually only buys you a lap or two at the most.
I think they had a yellow that helped them out that day. Joey Hand may need one today too if they're that close going to reserve with over 5 minutes to go.
They're both probably running at full lean condition on their fuel mileage maps.
Joey's going to be saving a little bit of fuel being in the draft situation. Darren's punching the hole in the air and Joey's right behind him. That will help him some.
Joey's trying to find any way he can to shorten the distance of this racetrack, but the walls are keeping him in bounds.
The closing laps here in Montreal, 5 minutes to go, and we are here until the checkered flag. You're not going to miss a thing. So compelling, the stories for both teams, but particularly for this lead car, the 58. It has been a long time between celebrations.
How patient will Joey Hand be? Will he force the issue? He looks to the inside there, late on the brakes.
He's not willing to give up to try to win this race, that's for darn sure, but this could be which one of these cars can possibly make it without running out of fuel, and I think they're both in trouble, guys.
No championship issues, of course, with the 23 car, the 58 car. They're not really thinking that big picture, I don't think. They just want to see a win.
There's a report they think the 23 may have run dry.
Back.
Chris, go for it.
Yeah, Joey Hand all over the radio right now saying, guys, we are out of fuel. We are out of fuel. There's nothing left.
That's what I was talking about. I was figuring that was going to happen. Now, for the 58 car, he needs to back way, way down because I think he's in the same position.
This is devastating. They pitted on the same lap, so their Porsche power plants, how much fuel does Darren Law have with nearly 4 minutes to go?
Well, you can't think any, Calvin. I mean, they're identical power plants.
Well, let's get down to the Brumos cam. Let's find out more with Hurley Haywood.
Hurley Haywood down here watching, calling the shots on the Brumos team, and we've seen a problem for the 23. It looks like they're out of fuel. Do you guys have enough on board?
Well, we think we do. We've been conserving just for this moment, thinking that the guys that were ahead of us would run out of gas, but we got ahead, and we thought that the 23 car was not going to make it, and he just ran out of gas. So we are running on fumes, but I think we can make it.
How much can Darren Law conserve now that he's in the lead and Joey Hand's gone? How much can he conserve?
Well, he can't conserve that much because he got some competition behind him, so we're just keeping our fingers crossed that he's got enough fuel.
Keeping their fingers crossed, hoping till the end, but don't expect to see him on pit road. They're staying out till the bitter end, guys.
GT cars are pitting. GT cars are running low. Chris, go.
Yeah, Lee, we thought that the Porsches could maybe make it, but the TRG cars also already, the 67 came to pit lane for fuel. So the big question is, can Dirk Werner in the 87, also a Porsche, stay out front since he has been out as long as Andy Lally? So the big question right now, we got some GT cars running up front, but they did not come in with the 57 and the 70.
And Jeff Siegel, who was running third in the race, forced to pit and exiting pit road, has run off the track. Slight damage to the front of his Mazda RX-8.
He had hot tires there. He's just on that outside dirty line, Dorsey. Tried to get out of the pits as quick as he could and just got caught out.
And we all saw it during the pit report that he could not turn the car, and it was going to keep going on him. It did. He got the hot tire wall.
Joao Barbosa looking to break into the top 5. Rojas has been solid, sustaining this pressure from the Portuguese driver.
But again, fuel mileage in the cars in front could make this a much better position than it looks like.
Bodywork flapping there on Joao Barbosa as he flicks back to the outside. Remember what Timmy Keane said about the 01. We're saving fuel. We should be in good shape. How about everyone else?
Look at the excitement on Donnie Leatherwood's face. He really wants this car. He wants this victory for the 58. And you can see there Barbosa has got by Rojas.
Calvin, we should be within 1 lap to go. Somewhere very closely. I don't know where the lead cars are in relation to start-finish, but
here is Darren Law.
May get the white flag this lap. Could be the longest lap of his career.
You're not kidding there.
That I can't help but think, to go back to that interview at the top of the show, before the race with Darren Law. I have never seen Darren look like that before a race.
He was fired up for sure, but look at Joey Hand. He's still running.
Yeah, he is still running.
Is this a strategy call that these guys are telling everyone we're out of fuel when we really aren't?
Look at their lap time they're turning, Calvin. I mean, they're off. They're both conserving a little bit.
Chris can update us on the 23.
Oh, guys, they did have that really big stumble, but that was when Joey switched over to reserve. So listening to the radio, it had sounded like he had switched over a little bit earlier, but when he had the stumble, then he switched. So right now, running on fumes, but running in that reserve tank, so has a little bit of fuel left, and another TRG coming to pit lane. So we are seeing some of those Porsches that didn't come in GT starting to run out. Ryan?
I just heard on the radio Timmy Keene make the call to Memo Rojas, go to reserve fuel, go to reserve. So the 01 on fumes, trying to make it around to the checkered flag.
Well, the 09 just might have run out of gas, guys. We just saw him pull off the racetrack. He was slow.
That's
one time to go. One more lap.
Engine, a little bit different.
2.7 miles is all that stands between Darren Law and the checkered flag to break a 5-year victory drought for the Brumos organization.
Will that be a party tonight if he can just get around the racetrack?
And they deserve it. Just a great driver pairing.
As Donnie Leatherwood, one of the stalwarts of the team. Hurley Haywood, this will be an emotional victory. Remember last year, they lost their team leader. One of the most influential men in sports car racing, Bob Snodgrass.
I think Joey's out of gas, guys.
Yep.
He's not going to make it.
Yeah, Doris, you're right. Joey Hand out of gas. Just told the team, guys, nothing left in the reserve tank. Got to pull over.
Now, this man, can he make it that half a lap he needs to do?
He is so close. So close. And think about David Donahue and that victory that he enjoyed up at Circuit Mont-Tremblant, not far from where we are here in central Montreal. His late father, Mark Donahue, enjoyed multiple victories here in Canada, and Canada could again be a pleasant place for David Donahue. These two guys are such great mates. They're great teammates. Heartbreak for Alex Jobs, Ruby Tuesday Championship Racing. What a performance they put in. But fuel robbed them of a podium here today. But this is all about Brumos Racing. Coming to the final chicane. The 5-year drought is finally over. It's the Brumos Porsche. David Donahue and Darren Law get the victory. It's close though.
Oh, he's out of fuel.
Oh,
he's out of fuel.
Believe it? Can you believe it? But the Canadians
Wilkins
get it.
Wilkins wins this race.
Oh my goodness.
No. They got robbed. But victory for the AIM Autosport team.
I saw it happen.
Can you believe it?
I didn't want to say it. I did not want to say it, but I saw it stumble.
Garcia went the long way around, and Wilkins took advantage. What a finish.
Look at the despair here.
Despair, Dorse, is an understatement for those boys.
100 feet short.
Wow. That is unbelievable.
Well,
I've got to stop handing people victories before they get to the line.
I knew you were speaking too fast. Look at this. This car, the leader in GT, is out of fuel.
That's the
70
87.
car just blew by.
I think Robin Liddell's got the win in GT.
Remember, the 57 and the 70 pitted a long time after the rest of these boys.
And that's who's come across the line first, Cal.
Wow.
The 57 has got their third victory of the year in GT, but the biggest storyline is the AIM Autosport team get their very first victory in Grand-Am Rolex competition, and they're a Canadian team.
I talked to him last week. Look at it. All this oil, somebody's blown up through here, boys. Or yes, as you see that flag
I think that's tears from Joey Hand.
Talk about despair. Yeah. Let's hear what Hurley has to say.
From the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. I mean, Hurley, you've seen it all. You've done it all in motorsports. But have you had anything ever heartbreak like this?
No, I mean, he must have run out of gas right at the start-finish line. And it was just so close. We were just holding our breath that he had enough gas, but we just missed it by a few feet.
Had he already gone to reserve?
Yeah, he was on reserve.
So that was all there was. Anything you can take from this, even though the disappointment?
Well, the guys did a great job. I mean, we didn't qualify so well, so we worked on the car. It was kind of a guess, but it must have been good. So the guys are doing a great job. We'll get there. I mean, we've been so close so many times, and we need a little bit of luck.
Like I said, the emotions from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, and Lady Luck still just not shining down here on Brumos.
Can you believe it? Let's show you a replay as the two Porsche-powered Rileys that ran out of gas, but more this one here. Look at the 16 of Garcia coming, but look to the left. Look to the left. Wilkins read it beautifully.
Oh,
absolutely beautifully.
That little jink back around by Garcia cost him the victory.
And if he hadn't a jink, he would run right through the back of the Brumos car.
Chris.
Well, they thought they were going to get a podium, but you come away with a win. Brian, what a great day for you guys. Canadian team on Canadian ground. You guys win it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, you know, it took a bit of luck for us to win this, but it made up for what happened at Barber. I just can't say enough about this team. Ford, all the sponsors. I mean, this is awesome. It's right just to get this after all our bad luck.
Now, what about that emotional roller coaster? Those opening laps, you had that problem after Pruitt got into you, but then you guys stay with it and you fight and you get the win.
It was definitely an emotional roller coaster. I had a lot of fun passing a lot of cars, but I mean, you know, I thought our race was over. I didn't think we would be able to get a podium out of it. That's what this team's about. We keep digging. Ford gave us great fuel mileage. Obviously, we had the best today. So I just can't say enough.
Well, these guys not only having an emotional roller coaster today, but it has been all year long.
And Chris, guess what? That is now the closest finish in Rolex Series history. It was Pruitt and Gurney at Daytona. It is now Frisselle and Wilkins here in Montreal. 0.064 of a second. Desperation and despair there. Absolute enjoyment and celebration for the Canadian AIM Autosport team. Joey Han console each other. What could have been? They were running 1-2 and they're saying, can you believe that? They wanted to feel what the winners feel. Let's hear from them.
Huge celebrations down here in the AIM Motorsport camp. Brian Frisselle, we just spoke to you, but Mark Wilkins, it was you behind the wheel on that last lap. And forget the last lap. Let's talk about the last 100 yards.
Unreal. I think we kind of deserved it. I don't know if we had the outright pace today, but we were coming on strong. And I tell you, my goal, save the tires, save the tires. We were close on fuel, save the fuel. The last 5 laps was like short shifting, one gear too tall out of these corners. Man, it feels great. Brian did an awesome job at the beginning, and I'm elated. I don't know what else to say. This is unreal.
Big celebrations at AIM, and once again, Ian Willis not here, but he will be celebrating as well, even though mourning the loss of his mom. Congratulations to AIM, Lee.
Nobody deserves it more. They've been trying so hard. They've been hit with the bad luck stick. But that was just the most spectacular finish. Wow. Quite incredible. And he positioned that car, Dorse, just perfectly so that Garcia could not find a way through.
When I think Garcia was maybe thinking Down was going to move across and block him, so he flicked to the other side, and that cost him that last couple of feet that he needed.
And because of that, for the second time this year, we broke the closest finish in history here again.
Now let's talk GT, because that was pretty thrilling as well. We've been talking so much about DP. This is Dirk Werner.
It's out.
Now
Same scenario.
Listen to it.
Look for the 57 of Robin Liddell. There he goes. Look for Sylvain Tremblay, the black Mazda. There it goes. Boy, that championship implications there. And one more. It's the 21 Pontiac GTOR. There it goes to grab the final podium spot. Let's hear from our GT class winners. Chris?
Well, Lee, it was as wild and woolly back here in GT with 3 laps to go. Robin, you were back in 8th place, but then everybody started dropping out because of fuel. How much do you love your crew chief, Mike Johnson?
Yeah, today more than normal. I mean, you know, I started to question what he was doing. I'm thinking, we're going to have a bad day today. And then suddenly they started dropping like flies, and I took the 2 farmbacker cars on the last lap. So, in fact, Dirk I passed coming out the last chicane. So, you know, all thanks to Mike and the crew. Excellent job today. Andrew did a great first stint, and it was just a super job by the team. And I'm really happy to get back on the top step again after a couple of disappointments recently. So we're really happy.
And Andrew, we talked about the Mazda catching up to the 07. Now you guys are really catching up to the 07 in points. What does that mean for this young team?
Well, it's huge. We need that. We really need the momentum coming in, so it's great to get the points, to get back on the top. Gives us 3 this year, really good. I do want to say hello to Terrell and all the family back at home. Michael's sister had a bad accident and had suffered some neck injury and some spinal injury. She's recovering well, doing better, so we want to say hello to her and hope her a speedy recovery.
Well, Mike Johnson making another great call for the Stevenson Group.
What a contrast in just 2 weeks' time for Robin Liddell, how the race has finished. It didn't go his way in Alabama. It certainly went his way here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Now, look at that margin. From first to second, it was 14 coming into this race, and it all changed on the final lap of this motor race. It is now down to 6 points heading into the next round, and there's only 3 to go for the GT class in Grand-Am Series competition. The Ganassi boys extend, but it's tight for the other positions, and the 58 boys move up into the top 3. We'll be back. If you weren't with us for the finish, take a look at what you missed. Unbelievable. So many words to describe it. Darren Law poised for victory until this.
He's out of fuel and had to do nothing about it.
And the car that swerved aggressively in the background, the driver is with Chris Neville.
Well, Eddie Cheever's Coyote gets its best finish of the year. Antonio, you're coming through the last chicane onto the front straightaway, seeing the 58 come back. What were your thoughts?
I mean, I knew we were all very, very short on fuel. I was controlling the 61 since 5 laps ago. And I got my first fuel alarm on the last straightaway. So while I was passing the 58, the engine just went down, and I just seen the 61 going by. So it was a shame. I mean, it was a shame also for the 58, but really, really happy for the team and everybody.
Maybe a shame that they didn't get a win, but a great finish for this team.
Certainly was, Chris, and that's a really great achievement for Eddie Cheever's boys. SunTrust Improve Your Position Award winners, we congratulate the 59 Brumos Porsche. It finished in 4th, and that equals their season best. And also to Matt Connolly Motorsports, they equal their season's best. The position they achieved at Mid-Ohio, which was 3rd. Look how many positions they made up. Great result there. Guys, thoughts?
Wow. It was incredible, Dorsey. I mean, so many what-ifs. I mean, think about the 99 car. Got clobbered a couple of times there, taken out of a potential win there. Bad luck continues, and for Darren Law, I don't know what to say, mate. Great drive today.
And for Joey Hand, too, despair, desperation, frustration, no rest for the weary. We're at Watkins Glen next week for the shortened race on the short course. What a day to remember here in Montreal. We'll see you in a week's time.